Finally, hello and welcome back to the all new yurds. That all new restart. Restart, right? Or we keep going? Or do we? I said all new yurds. Are we yurds? What is that? Hello and welcome back to the all new nerds. Finally, after a little bit of a hiatus, after Kenobi, we have returned to talk about more Kenobi. But it's me, your host Levi, joined by co-founders Dylan and Johnny up there.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
Hi,
What
they
up?
are.
What up? What up?
And we're here to talk about some nerdy goodness. A lot's been going on in the nerd world. You know, we all new nerds. There's been Miss Marvel, Westworld's coming out again. Stranger Things just finished.
Stranger Things finished.
You know,
boys.
Boys.
The boys. Great show.
I haven't watched any of season 3 yet.
Ooh,
I haven't either.
Good season.
Everyone keeps telling me to watch it, and I'm
Might
like,
be the best season.
I think at this point I'm just gonna wait for it all to come out. But I'm really excited to see it.
You're allowed to do that.
I am really. Sometimes I tell this to people, and they're like, "No, you're not." So
yeah,
I'm glad
it's good. Great season.
I really like the boys, but I'm also kind of squeamish. Like in season, I think it's season 1.
You don't like all the
when that woman stuff? Like puts her hand in the sea's gills, the deep's
Ew,
gills.
Yeah.
You're gonna love. You're gonna love the first 15 minutes of the episode.
Like violence and gore, I can mostly handle, but like stuff like that where it's uncomfortable, right. I can't do it, and
no,
I know.
I hope
I know that
this
season has some stuff like that. I'm like, I
love
the story.
Yeah,
I love the character, but they go so deep.
It has something in it that I just am shocked that they got away with.
I've seen the only thing I've seen outside of like trailers and stuff is a set photo of this a giant urethra, and I'm like, man, I don't.
That was it. Yeah.
do I want to watch this?
You'll see. Yeah, what happens with that.
Yeah. So it's like I'm into the boys, but I'm not as.
Boys is so good. Great show.
The boys
what a great show.
There's a reason I love Star Wars because it's able to.
Umbrella Academy 2.
Oh yeah, Umbrella season 3 came out too. There's so much going on.
I watched the first 2.
I watched the first 2.
Actually. It was fine. Watched the first 2. It was okay. Not my favorite though.
Not your favorite? No.
Not your fave.
Not the fave. Not the fave. Well, Netflix has got. I personally, by the way, to share the thoughts on the ranking, Stranger Things. I thought season 2 or 4, volume 2, excuse me, of season 4, kind of mid.
We were talking about it before we.
I haven't seen the final 2 episodes yet, so
yeah, no spoil. No spoil.
No spoil.
I have heard they're really good though. I mean, they're very long.
Too long.
Hour and a half,
wow.
and then
it's
4
hours.
And 2 hours.
Yeah,
could have been 2:30 for all of it, easily. You didn't need it.
That's funny because watching the show up until these last chapters, I'm like, I need more to like get this story going because like there's still a lot that needs to happen. And just on the trailers,
and
there was a lot
did
that's
happen.
going
I can
to
tell you
happen.
that. But...
Yeah.
A lot happened, and then a lot also didn't.
Any deaths?
Maybe. I don't know. I think that if we start talking about that stuff, then it's
exactly. No, I don't want you to
any
say
deaths.
Any deaths?
Definitely some cool scenes though.
Odd ending. I think it's the oddest ending.
Ending, huh?
A season.
Like, does it not have a close off, or?
Well, it does.
It
does.
It's really odd the way it happens, but yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's that.
I don't vibe with it.
I really got to start watching Miss Marvel, and I know everyone's
like,
great.
However, just like every Marvel show, is slowly declining.
It starts.
I don't think it's gonna stick the landing. So
Marvel shows have a half-life, and that to me is very interesting. They are like
up here in the beginning, and then it's go. That's what happens. It goes down.
Every show, I feel like maybe not
every
Loki.
show.
Maybe not Loki, but I feel like every show.
Loki literally has the perfect mystery and build.
It has like a.
I do think Loki is a bit of a roller coaster.
It's a roller.
For me, that show was banging on all levels at all times.
It still starts out just as good, if not better.
Think about how satisfying it was when the Kang thing came true. Like,
no, I know
it was so cool.
That was the one time the fans got it right.
Yeah, that was the one thing where we had the theories and they started playing out in like different ways, but still. Oh, it was so cool. That was that was a good experience. And
but every other show that's flopped.
Take me back to that Disney Plus era when it was those 3 weeks where it was Bad Batch and Loki, but like the Bad Batch episodes were like the Cad Bane ones. The things were popping off.
Speaking of Star Wars, or speaking of Bad Batch, we're gonna have 3 shows probably running at the same time this fall or into winter.
Coming this fall, Bad Batch season 2 and Andor, and Tales of the Jedi, all at the same time, and She-Hulk.
And She-Hulk.
Oh my god. Why?
I don't know if I'm gonna
Why
be
don't we
able
have
to
a show?
handle
Why
that.
don't we have a Star Wars going right now? Why isn't Bad Batch going?
Now?
Just move
right
it
now?
up. Like, I don't know what the issue. Well, I mean, we got Andor in August, so you know.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's very odd. Very odd. But today we are here to talk about. Well, there's been an interview. There's been an interview that's been conducted.
Bizarre interview.
Direct from the direct.
Yeah, I don't know how this interview happened. I don't know how anyone is allowed to talk about this. Usually this is not allowed. What we're about to talk about is information that we would never know.
Yeah, a lot of Kenobi has probably had one of the not the messiest productions, but like the weirdest transition to the final product, I think, of any Star Wars thing that we've done.
Yeah, I'll put this out there. This might be a bit of a technical film industry heavy first couple minutes here of the pod, because Johnny's absolutely right. Very unique production.
It has bounced from one idea to another idea to a movie to a show. It's very chaotic.
But like not necessarily because of creative differences, but because of like they thought the market was changing, and then new service. It's like very weird.
There's one reason that really sticks out to me which we'll get to.
It makes me want to throw a milkshake at the wall. That's what
it makes me. Just baffled. Oh, okay, we'll get to it.
I've seen some things on these, like mainly the big points, but I don't know. I haven't read the full interview yet, so I'm excited.
Neither have I. So we're gonna dive into it.
Let me give some context here. So
you can give context. I guess.
This is an interview with Stuart Beatty, and he was the writer on the Obi-Wan film. You didn't mishear me. This was a movie, as some of you most know. He wrote the movie Obi-Wan and pitched it way back in like 2015. Or something like that, because they've been planning this to be a movie for a very long time.
And hey,
it's so much so, Ewan was at the solo premiere. Everyone likes to forget that he was there, ready to go. Like
he was at the they were
going to make the announcement of the next one is Kenobi after that, because remember the plan was the first 3 sequel trilogy movies come out and a movie every year with the anthology.
He was at the solo premiere.
Because they were literally ready to put it into production. It was ready to go. This movie was written, it was pitched, accepted
back in 2018.
And but it was written in 2016, 2017.
Earlier,
it's done. So as you may have noticed on the end credits of Kenobi, each episode it says Joby Harold, it says Hossein Amani, who we'll get to in a second, Stuart Beatty. Sometimes it also bunch of names are on the credits because of how the story.
Well, the screenwriter for this show specifically was Joby.
I know, but he was taking.
I know, but he was taking
sometimes
ideas.
He was taking ideas, but also just straight up lifting dialogue and scenes from previous scripts,
right.
Because this thing has evolved. And I liken this to the only other time in Star Wars history that this has really happened in a similar way is with Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9 Duel of the Fates draft, which is one draft, and we know something about another draft, but no one that was a leak, and no one has addressed it. No one has talked about it. This is the writer of the movie.
Well, Colin Trevorrow was like, "Yeah, this is right."
He's mentioned it, but not like
I know, but not like he hasn't like gone into it. He's been like, I made that. This is Stuart Beatty going ham on these are all the plot points of my movie and how it changed and everything about everything. And I'm like, how is he allowed to talk about this? Especially now that, and this is what I think the pod will be about. If we can incorporate these ideas into a potential season 2, because a lot of them are pretty interesting.
It is.
I would want him to come back in some way because they're his ideas, but I feel like if you're Disney, you can't have this guy, like you can't do it anymore, kind of. He just laid out all the ideas. Like, very strange.
It's interesting too, because I feel like while I think reception overall for Kenobi has been like at least good, not like awful.
Pretty positive.
There still has been like throughout the show's like lifespan, it had a lot of like rough edges, especially with a lot of fans. So I'm surprised for this that they let that get out, or they let this interview happen.
Because people are always going to say, "Oh, that one would have been better."
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Even though,
I mean, people say that with Duel of the Fates, and it's even
though in the case of Reva, people before the show came out, the leak was of this version. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's awful." Then the new version happens. Everyone's like, "Ah," and then like we could have the old one. It's like, what? It's very, I don't know,
wild.
Certain parts of this I was very interested in. I feel like could have worked in the show. And
I want to put out there before we really dive into deep to the words, because we gave Joby Harold a lot of crap, and Johnny and I were having a conversation about Andor and the team behind Andor, because after Kenobi, Johnny and I have different opinions on Kenobi, but we both agree that the production was maybe a little bit lacking at times.
was
And we were
weak.
looking
A little
Yeah.
sloppy.
and we were looking at the creatives because they're just as important as the talent in front of the camera. And
Andor
Andor
is
has like a insane stats
Crazy.
team, and we could do a whole pod
Yeah.
about that. But I just want to put out there
People who
people-
worked on Game of Thrones, House of
it's
Cards,
Game of Thrones, House of Cards, The
Americans.
Americans, Jason, like the Bourne Identity films. It's
all
nuts.
all great film and TV.
It's nuts. Like literally the original showrunners of how you get it. You get the
Yeah.
point. A different pod. But a lot of people we talked about
Andor
before
High Pod.
how Joby Harold was like, who's this guy? What has he written? What? I just want to put out there before we start talking about Stuart Beatty and everyone's like, oh my god, this would have been better, or that if that's your reaction. Stuart Beatty's main film credits are G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, and I, Frankenstein. So just wanna put that out
Hey,
there.
Frankenstein was good.
Was it?
I liked it. I remember.
Hey,
That's this Tim Burton one, right?
It's something. No, is it Tim
Am I
Burton?
making that up?
No, it's no, it's not. No.
Not Tim Burton.
No, that's Young Frankenstein,
That's
right?
I think so.
Gene, no, that's too early for Tim Burton. Anyway, I, Frankenstein is a Stuart Beatty directed and written movie. Do you not remember like the trailers where it's like edgy Frankenstein? He's like, I'm Frankenstein, and like all the bats and the whatever. Bad. My point is,
Oh no, we don't like this.
yeah, Stuart Beatty.
No.
You might say,
Yeah,
oh,
we
but
don't
he
like
wrote Curse of the Black Pearl, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Two-Face.
And you're right. So Stuart Beatty does have some story credit on Pirates of the Caribbean, but the first one only. And the movies he actually is credited as writer, those prominently, are the first G.I. Joe and I, Frankenstein. So just putting that out there, putting that out into the world that even if you like these ideas, they may have been executed just as poorly, if not worse. Putting that out there. Putting
Fair,
that out there.
yeah.
Just putting that out there. I'm not saying the ideas
There's
are
a
bad.
lot of detail within these quotes, so that's why. I mean, that's why.
I'm just saying. Just
Fair
saying
enough.
that everyone.
Insane.
We'll also like to mention the cinematographer of the show.
Well, that's a different story.
Very strange.
He's essentially the cinematographer for Kenobi has
Weird
really only
pick.
worked on
Horror.
horror. That's
Yeah.
like it's it.
And
Which
on
you
the-
can
on the
kind of
mental.
see it. Like
In certain,
it looks
yeah,
like a-
yeah, right. The shit,
it looks
yeah.
like found footage. It literally looks like it's like a paranormal activity like,
Archival,
POV.
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very strange.
Which
So-
how have you guys been feeling about Kenobi as the weeks pass on? I think I'm
still like it a lot.
I'm feeling better on it the more I
Yeah,
like
me too.
think about it.
I'm feeling more mid on it, unfortunately.
It is
But
But the problem with me is,
That's your experience with
if you
literally
guys,
everything we
I
talk
know,
about.
you
Everything.
guys don't know.
Everything.
I set my expectations for things way too high because I have a lot of promise with just things. And yeah, I don't know.
You're a clinical midder, man. Every time we watch
You-
something, you're like, this is the best thing ever. And then
Yeah.
3 weeks later, you're like, it's a
Well, I
shame.
think
it
we just
sucked."
work the opposite
Kenobi
ways.
had
Like,
really
for
good
me,
high points, but
For me, the flaws
fine.
get lower as time goes on, and the highs get higher. Whereas I think with Johnny, it goes the other way.
I just remember,
I don't know.
you can see in our celebration vlog, Johnny and Ben, 10 out of 10 is the best
Yeah.
day of my life.
It's a good episode, man.
good
The
ep-
that
first-
was a
first
good day
episode goes
though.
hard.
It was a
I
good
still
day.
might say that's a 10 out of 10 day for sure.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Every one of those days was a 10 out of 10 day.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
anyways. You know,
Well, anyways.
it's not a celebration pod.
Maybe maybe you've been watching and you're enticed by what we've been talking about. So let's jump into it. So the
So
first
there's
Three.
three articles. So basically there's one interview by Nathan Johnson, shout out. Works the direct. He interviewed what's the guy's name? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. I know you said-
Stuart Beatty.
Beatty. Okay. But it's interviewed Stuart Beatty, and they kind of split these up into three separate articles. So you want to start with the Cody one?
No.
What one do you want to start with?
I'm only laughing because I said how I wanted to lay it out before the show. I want to just go in the order that they came out. So it's the trilogy one.
Okay, so then
Reva,
the
and
trilogy one. Okay.
No, but yeah.
Well,
So-
I'm looking at most recent to oldest. So okay. So Obi-Wan Kenobi movie trilogy was planned before Disney Plus. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that it's a lot of it is in the title though. There's a lot of this is where we can start talking about like the technical reasons of why it became a show and not
Right.
a movie. So he pitches a movie in 2016, convincing them being Lucasfilm, of 3 stories for Obi-Wan. And the quote, it's one of the big ones. I don't know if you want to pull it up. So when I pitched my Obi-Wan story to Lucasfilm, I said, there's actually 3 stories here because there's 3 different evolutions that the character has to make in order to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. And the first one was the first movie, which it's a weird quote, but what he's saying is like the show is what the first movie was, just stretched out. surrender to the will of the
Huh.
Force, transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. So the second movie was thinking about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably most powerful moment in all of Obi-Wan's story is the moment he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment,
Yes.
you know, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just go, to just kind of go be a fighting guy and go to see Luke and go, I'm going to die. You know, that to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. So again, it's one of those universal things we all struggle with, to come to terms with our own mortality. So that was the second step of the evolution for me, meaning, this is not the quote, meaning that the second movie was going to be about how he has to come to terms with this. And he says it here, that Obi-Wan now has to come to terms with his own mortality, somehow in a prophecy or Qui-Gon telling him, there's going to be a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for good. And then Obi-Wan is like, what? No, I'm here to help. I can't do that. And get him to that point where Obi-Wan has accepted the idea that he's going to die, that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment, and you will know when that moment presents itself, so that when the moment comes up in A New Hope, you understand. He's recognizing he's been on this journey already, and he's waiting for this moment, and that's how he's going to make it so easily, to do the sacrifice, to die. That was the second evolution, the second film, the second story. So for me, if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan, that's the character evolution I would take him on. That to me is really interesting, and like I said, universal. So that's only the first quote of many.
Right.
But very dense, a lot to go through there. So the first point that I want to talk about is that the first season of the show was the first movie just stretched out, and I can feel it. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to think that this like way of thinking was put into the Kenobi show. You know what I mean? Like I like to think that they like at least thought this hard on the show we got anyways. But yeah, I don't know.
This
Just
is
everything
2016 it was pitched.
Yeah,
Long
everything they're
ago.
saying there makes sense. You know, like it's like yeah, that's what a Kenobi, that's what it should be about. And I really like how they were thinking, like how do we get Kenobi to sacrifice Kenobi? You know, not I'm gonna keep fighting Kenobi, or like he keeps fighting, but in a different way. You know, so I think that's cool stuff.
Well, do we fundamentally agree though with the concept that the first season or movie has to be about him accepting he doesn't have to be so latched on to Luke in the way he is. He has to let Luke grow. Because that's something that a lot of people, if I see any pushback, it's about how Kenobi let Luke isn't doing his quote unquote job.
Right. But we get that in the show. Obi-Wan at the end is like, I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, but he's saying,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm
fine
saying
with that?
or do we agree with that premise
No.
that has to be the
Oh
Kenobi
yeah,
story?
Yeah, I
see.
think it's
That makes
a
sense.
good arc for
Yeah.
Kenobi to have. I mean, I feel like he's not as involved as I think he was before, even in A New Hope. He's very
Right.
distant from Luke, even more so. I think.
Yeah.
New Hope, he's out in the wastes.
Yeah. So.
I think that makes sense because Kenobi would probably want to train him earlier anyways. Like I feel like that just makes sense, earlier than he ends up training him. So for him to be like, no, I just gotta wait for the right moment. I gotta be patient, you know? I think that makes sense. I like that a lot.
So I will get into that with one of his quotes later. I mean, I kind of want to talk about him now because it just goes right into exactly what you said there. Essentially, the essence of it is that emotionally, Stuart Beatty thought that, yeah, Obi-Wan has to reckon with the fact that if he tries to train the boy now, if he puts all his guilt into Luke, then Luke will turn to the dark side. And
well, also the difference there too is he at the end of the day he gives Luke a choice. Luke is forced, you know, like by his situation. Luke feels like he needs to, but it's not like he'd just probably be remaking the same mistake as Anakin, where it's like, yeah, they gave Anakin a choice, but it's like he was too young to really grapple with that. He's like, all right, we're taking you. Whereas this, he's letting Luke grow on his own and become his own person. And then when the time was right, it's, you know, I'll give him this option. I like it. I think that makes sense. I feel like that's an understandable way to put Obi-Wan's character.
Yeah. So that's a positive both towards Stuart and the show, because I think the show does that.
Right.
What I feel though is like reading how, because here, allow me to read another quote about Solo. It's a much shorter quote. He's asked if Solo's box office performance was the reason that Kenobi movie never got made. And he says, yeah, I wrote the film that they based the show on. So yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it. And then when the decision was made not to make any more spin-off films after Solo came out, I left the project and went on to do other things. Joby came on and took my scripts and turned it from 2 hours into 6. So I did not work with them at all. I just got credit for the episodes because it was all my stuff. But the fact that Solo coming out, it's just, yeah, Johnny, I think you were looking at a quote earlier about Solo. I was just talking about that, like that.
Yeah.
I
don't have the right
that
one,
that is what kills the Kenobi movie is Solo.
but...
It
And
seems
that-
like Solo's the killer for a lot of things here.
I know, and it makes me real
Um,
sad.
Yeah, it does.
But it's just funny because they are the well,
They are at fault. It's the movie.
they are at fault.
Yeah.
The movie is good.
The people
The
that
movie
like
is not the issue.
the
It's
people
it
that
was the
move the money
marketing.
around.
It was
It's
It
their
was
fault.
everybody's
Yeah.
literally surrounding the movie. That's why it failed. Again,
Right.
putting it in the middle of the summer, competing with Infinity War.
Right
having
after
one-
the
having
most
1 month
divisive
of-
Star Wars film of all
Yeah.
time. Like,
And
Right,
hold on,
that,
not
and having
people
one-
forget it's Infinity War, Deadpool, and Incredibles 2.
Deadpool 2
Yeah.
and
Incredibles 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
Doesn't make any sense.
yeah, only having really 1 month of marketing, with their biggest being, we've joked about it on the show many times, Denny's. I think it was completely they were at fault, or
was a botch
really
job.
the marketing and just basically Disney
was
corporate,
Disney.
unfortunately, or
It was
Lucasfilm
Disney.
corporate,
It was Disney.
were to blame there.
Is
And then
mine.
Kathleen just has taken that and used that as an excuse for why she's not doing a lot of the things that they originally planned to do, which I think is
Well,
we've all-
I think Kathy has taken the hit because even in Bob Iger's book, he blames himself for Solo's failure. He's like, yeah, that one's on me, because he's the one who Kathy always wants in the history of this new era of Lucasfilm. Kathy has always been the one pushing for delays on the film, and Bob, one of the Bobs, is always like, no, we got to get it out now. Like
don't do it.
Kathy, because originally all the movies, this notion that Star Wars is a December thing is new. All the movies, the sequel movies, were slated for May of 2015, 2017, 2019. And
right,
every
yeah.
time they got pushed,
Right, yeah.
every time they got pushed, because Kathy said we need more time, more than you're willing to give us. Like the first, there's I could go on and on about how Bob Iger kind of screwed the pooch on
a little
the
bit,
release, but he
bit.
wouldn't budge on
Right.
Solo one, which was still stuck in May.
Yeah.
And that's what created like the 5 month difference between
It's odd
and then she
why it would be that movie specifically, but...
because they didn't want to compete with Mary Poppins is why.
No, I
So stupid.
Which
so
is
stupid.
Fucking weird.
flawed because they were competing with,
I know. It
probably
doesn't
their
make-
biggest movie of the year being Infinity War.
I know. It's so
Actually, yeah, sorry,
stupid.
not probably. It is the biggest.
so
was the
stupid.
biggest
Yeah.
movie of the year.
But Bob blamed himself on that one. But Kathy
Oh.
has to take that from Disney corporate and be like, well,
Still
yada,
happened.
yada.
This is why
Like-
we're not. This is why
Yeah.
we're not doing Solo 2. This is why we're not doing.
Yeah,
We didn't
that's
do the
why we
Boba
want
Fett movie. This is
recast
why we're not doing the
characters,
Kenobi
like-
movie. We're gonna. So
Dumb.
That's- I just think it's sad.
it's sad.
But the fact that he explicitly says in that quote that after that Joe B. Harold comes in and they stretch a 2-hour story into 6. And what I was going to say is I especially feel that looking back, you could easily cut an episode from Kenobi. Easily. It's particularly you could just cut episode 4. Doesn't need to be
Yeah.
there. You could cut it out. You could cut it
Get
out.
rid of it.
Cut one of them.
Sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Doesn't need to be there at all.
Cut Wade. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You know,
Wade,
like
man.
literally, all you
It
need to
was
do.
not worth it.
All you need to do is very simple here. At the end of 3, when Reva is chasing Leia gets away, but she gets a tracker on Leia then, and then that's it. Like
Exactly,
then
yeah,
episode
yeah.
4 doesn't happen.
Right.
It's
Mm.
but
Episode 4 has some good stuff in it.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
It's not like it's like I don't think it's overall a bad episode, but
it's
it's
just the
like,
most
it's
TB
useless.
episode.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't like that episode at all. That's really the one.
Well,
that's
I
really,
definitely I do like that
like,
episode,
less and
but
less.
I'm not gonna say because Obi-Wan.
No,
You know,
because the whole
It's easily the weakest episode.
it's too
but-
much Fallen Order. It's too much Fallen Order. I get it. It was cool, but too much Fallen Order.
It is very Fallen
It was
Order.
beat for beat. At times it was beat for beat.
I mean, yeah, there is some
Which I
stuff
did
that
not
just
like.
directly mirrors Fallen
Yeah.
Order. Like it's like definitely intentional.
Which I did not think that was cool. I was not into that personally. But anyways, so yeah,
It was a good episode though. For like, it's like, oh, we do need an episode where it's like Obi-Wan is fighting again. Obi-Wan's using the Force and his
Yeah.
lightsaber, and you can definitely do that.
I-
You can
yeah,
definitely
I
like do it
personally
in
thought-
different ways. But
I think that could have
that's-
been done with a lot more emotional
Yeah.
impact. But
I still think
Who knows?
him in the robes and in Forces Inquisitors. Like there's some stuff I really like in that episode.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
I-
the tomb. That shit, that's awesome.
Well, that,
Yeah.
I remember that everybody freaking out about that whole part where Obi-Wan's like breaking Leia out of the prison, the lights turn off and all that stuff. Watch the
Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed cinematic.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that.
It's
It's
very
literally
scary.
that.
No,
Yeah,
people said that
except-
then. They were
except he
I
doesn't
don't like
decapitate.
the just like the pulls. Like that's just like a blatant like I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
That
to
one was
me.
on purpose. They talked about that when it came out. They were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
look, this is Force thing."
Why are
Anyway.
we doing video game?
Whatever.
Anyway, that was a video game app. Anyway.
It was. It was.
Another quote about the solo thing. So Beatty was the headline is Beatty was devastated when he found out the project was no longer going ahead. And
I would be too.
Beatty says as the movie, it was just dying to be done. Unfortunately, it was Solo that changed the direction of the system. I like Solo personally, but it didn't make a lot of money. It is crazy to some ways to think about how it was directed by one of the best filmmakers working today, that being Ron Howard. But just because it didn't hit a certain number, they had to rethink everything. And again, way above my pay grade, but it certainly crushed us. Devastated, absolutely devastated. But that's the business, highs and lows. I'm glad it got made. I'm glad the show got made. I'm proud of my story that got told. I'm glad my characters are all through it, and I'm glad I got credit for it. I wish they'd been able to make my movies. So it just goes back to the trilogy thing, and this is where maybe we can. It's tough, right?
It
'Cause
hurts.
Kenobi,
It hurts.
in your head.
I can't even imagine their pain too.
A Kenobi movie, it does sound pretty good, right?
It sounds
Like
pretty
a
awesome.
Kenobi
Yeah.
trilogy.
Imagine seeing that Vader and Kenobi fight in a theater.
Oh,
That
and
would be-
it would have higher production too. 'Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
It would be undisputed. Goated.
But this is where we talk about some of the ideas maybe that were in the movie, right? Because
Which-
you're right. So what happens here in the interview, he sort of says, "Oh, Joby took over," but that's not entirely true. He's abridging the story because Hossein Amini wrote a whole draft and treatment for the
Sorry,
story.
you're right. There is a middle ground.
There's
There
a
is
middle ground
part to this.
that
story.
someone adapts it, and he's credited in some of the episodes. Someone adapts it again, and that's the scripts that Kathy said, "No, this is way too similar to The Mandalorian. We got to do something else." Like
And that was the one.
we can't
that
make
was kinda like,
we can't make two shows that are The Mandalorian. That would just be
Yeah,
redundant.
yeah.
Good Kathy move. I
What-
gotta applaud her when she makes a good
was
move.
that with like Kenobi and Luke, or was that the one where it was we don't see Kenobi till
It was the
last
one where you
episode?
don't really see Kenobi into the last episode.
That would have been so dumb.
Ugh. Ugh.
I like that as like a fan film idea. That'd be like a cool imagine people telling stories about Kenobi and shit.
But
like that.
hold on.
That doesn't need to be
to the
canon.
defense maybe of that idea. If it was envisioned as a trilogy or like the beginning of multiple seasons where you're building to Kenobi and then you get like a Kenobi season, then I can maybe see it.
People would have hated it.
Well, no, but like as a way to establish new characters and then work in the story, like I could see that.
Well,
I could
kind of what,
personally-
but that's kind of what
but it's kind of
doing
I
it.
understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah,
why
so-
I
Kathy
feel like
thinks
it would be a waste of time.
But
we
my
didn't,
point
we
is-
didn't
Absolutely
need
would
many
be.
more
My
characters.
point is-
like
they were about to film in 2020. About to. During the pandemic, they were
they were
about
going
to
to do
film.
that.
Yeah, they were going
They
to
were-
do
Yeah.
it. And
They
then
were-
everyone got sent home. It was a big story. I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
I remember listening to the podcast circuit, like, oh my God, what's happening to Kenobi? Is Kenobi canceled? And that adds to the fact that they did not actually film the show that we saw until like 9 months ago, and they turned it around. And the time is the biggest factor in the way the show looks,
9 months
bar-
ago.
bar none.
Yeah, they shot it last summer.
They shot it last summer. It was
They
like
shot
August.
last
All
summer
right,
into the fall.
One, I'm amazed how
Into
good
the
it turned
fall.
out. Because the fact that they shot it
9
months
months
ago.
turnaround.
But it makes me mad because
post.
it would have been so much better had this been what
Imagine
they
the
were working on like
quality-
6 years ago.
Right. Imagine the quality of a
Yeah.
Rogue One or I mean even the sequel, even Last Jedi shot
Yeah.
beautifully.
And
Imagine that. But for a Kenobi movie
I'm gonna give
or a
them
Kenobi
credit
show,
because
even
for 9 months it looks pretty good, but it's
Yeah,
not what it could be so much better.
I raised this point in the context
Yeah.
of this conversation because we know that it was pitched as a movie. Solo changed that. They're reworking it, and then COVID hits, and then they're like, we can't do Mandalorian again after this huge success of Mandalorian.
Yeah,
So there
yeah,
are so many things like stars align to make Kenobi just be like they couldn't get it out. Even
right.
though they had the ideas, but
Oh,
some of these ideas have
sorry.
been percolating, since 2016. That's before
Yeah.
Rogue One even came out. The idea for some of the story were floating around in Lucasfilm.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
think I think
realize-
it's
I didn't realize they were
Been
that
wanted
far
for so
into
long.
this script. The one where Kenobi's at the end. I didn't realize that they were like moving forward.
that
with
was the
this.
one. Yeah, that was the one they were gonna shoot.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
I mean, again, this was
was it
before.
like really
they-
good or something? I don't understand like why people
Well,
would have
not-
hated. I remember people would not have been happy.
Well, like
with
we haven't seen it, so I guess we don't know.
it.
But
Exactly. But if it's as crazy as it sounds, like
I think it was before Mando was coming out, and they're waiting on reception for the show, and obviously it blew up. So
Well, there's a lot of things that go on. So, as we've
And
talked about, Reva originally not gonna live.
is this
Nope.
is you moving on?
I'm gonna move on because I want to talk
Okay.
about like the plot of
Yeah,
this
let's do
script
it.
and compare.
Yeah.
Gonna die.
she's gonna die. She was straight up gonna
So
die.
the
Not-
second article is so again, like I said, there's three. So the
Hey,
second one is Obi-Wan
hey.
Kenobi killed off Reva in the original script.
Do you want me to keep reading the quotes, or when you want to take over?
You can keep reading them. I have them all pulled up, but I'm lost to which one we're talking about.
Okay, so
we'll
the
just go ahead.
basically the genesis of this, because the reason I read that first one is I can't stress enough how much of it's reasons why he's credited. Stuart Beatty was his ideas are throughout this whole show. Like
Yeah.
Reva is a character that was in his from the beginning, and we'll get to it when we talk about Cody. But she was like a Jedi hunter, maybe not an Inquisitor, different, less canon adjacent, more its own thing, but she was a character still. So here he's talking about the differences about Reva. He says, yeah, except the only little difference in mine was that she didn't know Darth Vader was Anakin. Because I was like, how'd she know that? All she saw was Anakin as Anakin because he hadn't changed into the suit yet, right? So Anakin killed her friends, put the scar on her, almost killed her, left her for dead, basically. So that part is still the same. That's not the quote. I'm interesting that
we like that. Yeah.
he still stabbed her in his version. So in her mind, the Jedi Council were the biggest villains in the galaxy. She believed the lies that they were plotting a coup to overtake and get power and all that, but they were stopped by the clones. So she believed that's why she's hunting Jedi, because she believed the Jedi are the worst, basically. And before we go any further, let's just interrogate that one a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
This was questions that were raised when it happened. I didn't see too many people like upset about it, but like that is a valid point. Like, where does she make the connection to Anakin and Vader? Like it's not necessarily that obvious. Like to her, Anakin was just another Jedi that was coming in to kill her.
But
So
also,
that does make sense.
I also think, though, it's equally as improbable that her being a Jedi, she would believe that the Jedi were evil.
Yeah.
I think that's
definitely.
a little sussy, and like the clones were the good guy when they were coming in to kill the Jedi. Like, I
Right,
think that's a weird take.
Well, I can make.
But she was a Jedi. She was like 10 or 12.
I can make
She was a Jedi,
I can
man.
make arguments, but
I mean,
Most
most
of
you just find that. I would say you can find those people just in life that are kind of like that.
yeah, but it's not very logical to be like the Jedi are
Politically, is
evil
what
when
I'm
it's the
saying.
Jedi that-
No, I get what you're saying,
Okay,
but in the context of the Jedi Order,
which I get your point.
like the Jedi who were
What?
bad became Inquisitors. It wasn't like,
Mhm.
oh man, the Jedi. She did like they don't actually believe that the Jedi were evil. They believe that the Jedi were weak.
Right,
They're Darksiders. They're like they see the light, the quote unquote light of the dark side. They change teams.
Mhm.
Where
It's the world that through propaganda that thinks the Jedi were evil.
Yeah.
It's-
I don't see an actual Jedi buying into the propaganda. Like that's what I
Right.
don't like.
She was young. I mean, she was a kid, to be fair.
She was a kid.
So I can
Like,
understand.
Johnny, I know who you're talking about, but the grifters, they know they're grifting. They know. They're not like a lot of them know.
I question how.
I'll-
I question sometimes. Anyways,
Keep talking about Star Wars.
yeah,
You got something to say
I
there?
get it. I get it's odd. I mean, kind of. I don't know. What was the conclusion I came up with in my head? Because, I mean, like
I mean,
she saw him killing like a bunch of younglings, so like
somehow she put it
she
together
knew
that
he didn't die.
that
so,
Anakin
like,
was
we
Vader.
assumed that he was. Yeah, I don't know.
I
somehow.
know, but she also would have seen the.
I feel like it was
clones
based on
killing
assumptions.
everyone. Oh, if we're talking about how she knows he's Darth Vader, well,
Yeah.
let me get into the next quote,
Yeah.
where Stuart says, "Because I figured, how would she know that this thing in a mechanical suit that everyone calls Darth Vader is the guy who killed her or tried to kill
Right.
her?" So it was Obi-Wan kind of letting her in on that secret and the revelation that makes her kind of go, "Oh my God, I've been wrong this whole time." And so she goes and basically saved Kenobi by sacrificing herself, telling Vader, "I killed Kenobi," and then Vader killed her with her knowing that Vader would kill her. So that kind of completed her arc, just a little
Right.
bit different. That she was, yeah, absolutely the Inquisitor hunting Kenobi all the way through and driven by her own personal demons. I have a big problem with that, but I want to hear your guys' take first.
I don't know yet.
I don't like it. I don't know. I part of that does sound kind of cool, where Obi-Wan's the ones that like yo, you know the guy you're working for is like the guy that tried to kill you, right? And so then that's more of Obi-Wan's influence on her that turns her, or at least saves. But then we come even more into remember the original leak that came out that was like, or the original making Star Wars leak that everyone was worried about, because it's like, how does Kenobi fails in that essentially, and I mean he does in what we got too, sort of, but it's played out a lot better. I feel like Obi-Wan letting her go back to Vader doesn't really work for me, because in the show it's like she's not going back to Vader.
Yeah,
and
there's
Obi-Wan knows that.
no shot.
Like at that point, but
Yeah.
the fact that Obi-Wan would like let her do that, or even let her get away knowing that she would do something like that doesn't
The
sit
idea
well.
that Reva was a good person who is corrupted by her desire to do justice for her, like herself and her dead friends,
Sure.
then corrupting her. That's what happened in the show. I like that more than she bought into the propaganda and then couldn't, like, was just kind of stupid the whole time. And Obi-Wan's like, now wait until you hear this one. And then she just completely changes. That I don't know. But what I have a problem with is the fact that, not a problem, but I think
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what was on the show is more
I
the
think
emotional.
I think the reason that
part
she
there.
knows who Darth Vader is because he was Darth Vader in the temple. He wasn't Anakin.
Yeah.
That was Darth Vader. Like the clones called him Darth Vader. The Emperor calls him Darth Vader
Yeah,
when he's
that's
just
true.
Anakin. Like he is Darth Vader at that point.
Right.
You know, rise, Lord Vader. Like he's just a guy, but he's still Darth Vader. Like I don't know. I
But
feel
no
like
other Jedi that survived knew that Anakin was Vader.
Jocasta Nu did, but
Jocasta knew.
She's
she got taken out.
Yeah.
But like
Also,
some
yeah,
of them are able to put it together just because they're like, well, no, wait a second. Like, well, actually, it's really cool in the comics. It's because Anakin's like, it's still Anakin, like like genetically, and so like a droid like scans him and is like, Master Anakin Skywalker, and she's like, now wait a second. She's like, and she's like, what's up with that, man? And he's like,
Ayo.
he's like, ayo, and then
That's funny.
it's a good moment.
doesn't make it out.
No, she does not. But I think like I think she would know that the guy who is leading the clones against the temple and then starts leading the Inquisitors again. Like it's a logical leap.
It's a yeah. No,
I think-
yeah, I get it. It's a
And
little bit of the,
all the clones are saying Lord Vader, and like I don't know. Like I think I could understand that.
yeah, I do think that if we had to choose between the two, yeah, the show did it better. I would say.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about oh god, oh my, because it's his quote. Oh my god, I've been wrong this whole time, and then she goes and kills kills herself essentially. Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I just don't know if I get that.
Yeah, like again, because that's like Obi-Wan, because he doesn't actually necessarily know that she's going to make that sacrifice. She doesn't really even make a sacrifice. I mean, she goes to I mean, she tries to anyways, but
Sure.
Obi-Wan, I don't see a situation where like he just lets that happen. You know what I mean? Where he's like, yeah, you can go back to Vader and just like tell him you killed me, because Obi-Wan's smarter than that.
Well,
and he also like can't trust that Reva's necessarily going to do that.
Well, the whole thing, and it's been a conversation because after he let Vader live again, is ultimately the Jedi way is one of non-aggression. Like you can't, you do not kill a true Jedi would not kill unless they are absolutely forced to, no matter who. Like that is the true Jedi way. That is why like Luke at Crate, to me, force projecting in, he doesn't touch a fly, but he absolutely slaps down Kylo in that way.
He's the reason Kylo turns, or he's a big part in it. Like
Sure,
anyways, like I mean, there's many building blocks.
I mean in terms of the Jedi philosophy on violence.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Ultimately,
Luke does the most Jedi thing possible.
Yeah. Ultimately, not fighting,
right,
and like not hurting someone is And the way that Obi-Wan takes Reva's hand in the end of the show,
right.
That to me is like that's true Jedi stuff right
Definitely,
there. Where he like this woman was trying to kill him and Luke, and he is still able to be like, you can still make the choice to be better, from the Battlefront games. Like that's Luke and Del Meeko, man. Where Luke is chopping down these stormtroopers and Del Meeko is like, what? Now wait a second. And Luke's like, I'm not gonna kill you, and he's like, why'd you kill all those other guys? Like they didn't give me a choice. Like,
you did.
You don't. I'm a Jedi. Like I'm not gonna hurt you. Like that is one of the core philosophies.
I sort of equate the scene to where he doesn't kill Vader. So in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Zuko faces down his father, and he shoots lightning back at it. He redirects lightning at his father, and he chooses not to kill him. And Ozai is like, why didn't you do it, pussy? And he's like, that's not my destiny. That's not my job. Like, I'm gonna go help the Avatar do it, but like, I can't do this. I can't be the one to do this. It's kind of silly, like when you really think about it. It's like, well, you could have just done it. But still, I mean, it's like it couldn't be Obi-Wan couldn't be the one to kill Vader. Like, it just doesn't.
I just think morally, from a Jedi perspective, he can't. Like, he can't.
Mhm.
That's always been, and even in universe, like, you want to start getting nerdy about it. If he kills Vader right there, then the Emperor is 1,000,000% interested. If he kills Vader, the Emperor's like, oh, what the hell's going on here? Oh,
Mhm.
and then they're coming after Obi-Wan, and then Luke's done.
Right.
Then Luke and Leia are both dead. Like, then okay, that's how you follow out that plot line. If he takes out Vader, then Obi-Wan becomes the Emperor's #1 priority. And that means Luke would be his #1 priority. And that means the Emperor finding about Luke, and then galaxy is done. Like,
Yeah.
there
Bye-bye.
there are canonical reasons why he cannot kill Vader.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah, well,
that-
definitely that too. And some people could say like maybe they could have left it where Obi-Wan thought he killed Vader, but then how would he know that he's alive in A New Hope?
Yeah, I
Obviously,
don't
they
think-
can write around that, but
Yeah. It's
I
difficult.
don't think Obi-Wan can do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
also, like, I don't know, you thematically throughout when you watch it all together, the whole Star Wars story. Tell me Obi-Wan didn't have a part to play in Anakin turning back. You know what I mean? Like, he fights and like in little nuanced ways, but still, like, I mean, it's
And that's
it's
part of
symbolically it's there. He takes off a part of his helmet. Ahsoka
Yeah.
takes off the other part. Luke is the one that's able to take the whole thing off.
Right.
and that's
Like,
part of the
it's there. It's right there.
Yeah.
that's part of the tragedy of Anakin's turn in the first place is Mace Windu saying he's too dangerous to be left alive. And the
Right.
way that Anakin, he killed Count Dooku, did not feel good about it. He went, that's not
Right.
the Jedi way. Like, all right, yeah, cool. Like, this is the perfect
Mhm.
in-universe example. Count Dooku is the Darth Vader of that time. This guy's leading the Separatist Alliance, killing people, murdering
Right.
people, massacring people. He kills him. He goes, that wasn't right. Like, this guy was defenseless.
Right.
So he just Palpatine made him feel that feeling, and then a Jedi, Mace Windu, is going for the kill on Darth Sidious, and he's like,
Right.
"That's not the Jedi way." Like, that's what
Yeah.
Anakin says. He's like, "You can't kill him. Like, not only for myself, but like, this is so." He breaks him in that moment. Like,
The only
that sort of
thing
philosophy
that
breaks him.
gets me though is Obi-Wan is like, yo, you gotta kill that guy, bro.
Yeah,
To
it's true.
Luke. Like he still is like,
But
listen,
it's
man.
Yeah, he's
But there's time has passed, and
Oh
like,
God, my
I
mic,
don't know.
sorry.
Well, it's also possible because I've looked back on those scenes to read it like Luke has to be the one to defeat his father, not necessarily. It's interesting because Return of the Jedi paints Yoda and Obi-Wan to be wrong.
Yes.
But
Right.
they're wrong in the sense that Vader could not be saved. Not that.
Right.
So you can, I don't know. I think you can make it work. I think you can make it
Sure.
work because especially A New Hope. I think A New Hope so much better. Not
Yeah,
better,
I agree,
but
actually, a lot.
there are moments in New Hope now that hit so much harder.
No,
And
I
this
know
has
exactly what
been
you mean.
it's been a Claudia Gray, shout out to Claudia Gray, author, who had this idea a long time ago when she was writing Lost Stars and Bloodline. She brought it up in interviews and stuff that her headcanon, I think, is a certain point of view her story, but her headcanon was that the reason why Obi-Wan smiles the way he does and lets go when he looks over, I'm sure you've heard this before, is that he sees the twins reunited.
Yeah.
He sees the
exactly.
twins together for the first time.
Right.
He's like, I did it.
We did it.
Um,
Yeah.
Oh, that's I love
And that scene
wow.
now with the context of the show, where like, and
Yeah.
then like Ben Kenobi, where is he? Like when Leia's like, I gotta go see Ben. Like, like all that stuff. Like it adds to the.
Yeah.
I like that personally. Okay,
Yeah.
but
That's one thing that I think the show did very well, and also I thought the movies would do well as well.
To continue with our topic here. Another to go back to Reva and Vader. He says again, yeah, killed by Vader at the end of it. Yeah, I wanted her story to end. I wanted Reva to play her part in the Kenobi Vader story, which was essentially at the end. She was the one that allowed Vader, basically told Vader to stop hunting Kenobi. You know, she ended the obsession Vader had with Kenobi. She
Right.
claimed it was over. It was done. So that was that. That was her role to play. And she'd done so many terrible things. I felt that she had to die. You can only redeem so much. And then he asked, I just want to add up this follow-up. When the interviewer asked about the other Inquisitors, so he says, so no other plans to include any other Inquisitors. I knew I wanted Darth Vader, obviously, as the big overall villain in this story, and I see him as an antagonist who is really going to be more one-on-one with Obi-Wan throughout the show. So Reva was really the result of that. I needed one new character. And there's a couple more quotes, but let's talk about that now. Personally, that's where I go, Stuart, I don't know if I'm there with you.
Stu. I don't know. ST. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if that's necessarily
Like him
Needed.
giving up the search because of Reva.
Yeah,
Eh,
that doesn't
I don't track for
that
me.
don't make no sense.
Yeah, if she was written only to be a plot device to tie up the loose end of Vader can't be hunting Kenobi. Like I don't think it's. I think the way they did it in the show, regardless of how it looks, maybe in that scene, but the Emperor being the one to rein in his leash,
Yeah.
being like that is the only guy in the galaxy who can be
Well-
like literally Vader's raging in his chair. He's seething like a child. He's like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
gotta get him done. Oh yeah. And Palpatine's like, I sense you're having some feelings. And he's like,
Yeah.
okay.
I-
Okay, Dad.
I
Sorry.
didn't even necessarily take that scene as like, yeah, I'll just drop the Kenobi forever. It's like, okay, I'll chill, but I'm still gonna like do it. Like in the back of my mind, I'm always want this to kill this
He
guy.
always wants it. Yeah.
Yeah. I never took that as like my hunt is over. It's like I need to chill. Like the Emperor's right. Like if I don't calm down, the Emperor's gonna zap me. Like
Zippity zap.
yeah.
It's true.
And
He
then
zaps.
the Reva being like, "Oh, I killed him." And
Yeah,
Vader-
that was
Yeah.
always iffy with me
Right.
with that. But I mean, again, I think I will hand to the show. I think the way it was
Also,
done, the show was much better.
also, I don't think I would trade anything to not get Rupert Friend's Grand Inquisitor. I love him. I love
Yeah,
that character.
I liked him a lot.
He is
actually, too.
so over the top and goofy. His little like lip thing. You know,
Have
in
you
the
seen
sound
all the
bite.
have you
What
seen
is
all
he
the
doing?
memes of him looking down when he's looking down
Yeah,
on Reva?
yeah.
It's like me looking in
Hello.
for the last Pringle in
Hello.
the Pringle can.
Have you not
Yeah.
seen
Hello.
it's the shot? It's the
Yeah.
shot when Vader's looking out the bridge and he's like, "No, go after Kenobi." You just see the Grand Inquisitor in the background going like,
Yeah.
it's very
Is it?
funny.
I don't know.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
maybe he
hilarious. No,
does.
No, Rupert Friend actually did. He did well.
he just it's
It
he's
ended ended up being one of the things I was very
Then he
worried
does
about for the
wonders
show.
with the
For the
will to live. Don't you agree?
I love it.
Yeah.
He's so like hammy.
He's
I-
very Star Wars.
and that first
good.
like
That's
that
a good- that's a
first
compliment.
like monologue he does in the bar, I think is really good when he's
Yeah,
walking
that's
around.
Yeah,
good.
I gotta
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
it. I gotta.
The Jedi Code.
We
is
should
recognition.
watch all
They
six.
cannot
sometime.
help it.
I haven't done watch all six consecutively yet.
I haven't either.
I have to
my
do
man,
that.
My little man in the top left.
My little man in the top left. Yeah, I don't know. So the fact that there would be no other Inquisitors, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah,
I love
I-
GI being there.
Yeah, give me
I will. Yeah,
keep GI.
GI's pretty sick.
but here's the only issue is, I would say the only Inquisitor that really had a role in the story besides Reva was the Grand Inquisitor, which again
Yeah,
I like that
he
the
was
other Inquisitors
added.
were
He
there.
was added to Reva's plot, which I can understand, but the others were just kind of there.
well, they were just dicks. Like that was their
Yeah,
thing.
they're there. I like
Yeah.
the fact that they're
They
there
don't need
just
to be huge characters.
for-
We already
for-
seen Fifth Brothers.
Yeah, I like that they're there
Yeah.
for canonical
That's fair.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what were they just gonna have Reva and the
No,
Grand Inquisitor
I don't know. I
walking
thought their
around, like-
inclusion sometimes. I just like, why are they
Personally,
here?
okay, I see what you're saying.
as they look, I always understood why they were there. As characters, yeah, I can understand. It's like, what are they adding? Like, why do we have a dialogue
Yeah.
scene?
Oh
right
yeah.
now?
Well,
Like,
of course
this
you want to
isn't-
see
this
live
isn't
action.
necessary.
Yeah. Whoever.
Yeah,
I just like that they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
But
general,
it
like-
is.
In fact, the
I
fact
agree.
that the
Why-
fact that they gave them this banter in the first place, I think is good. I think
Yeah.
like what we got was
Especially
Again,
the first two
I would
episodes.
say
I
they
really like
served-
those first two episodes.
Yeah.
In
They
terms of their
served Reva's character well, but I mean, I feel like it could have really
I still don't know what
been
gutter they
crammed
pulled her
into
out
one
from,
character to do
but
that. What?
I still don't know what gutter they pulled her out from.
The Coruscant gutter
what he
outside
said,
of the
yeah.
Jedi Temple.
Yeah, when you were lying in the nicest place in the galaxy,
Galaxy.
and you were at the height, you were probably one of the highest.
I don't know, man. If you like slip out into the Coruscant underworld, definitely a
yeah.
gutter.
Yeah, I guess. So you think he was being literal? I thought. I don't know. Who knows? Whatever.
Yes,
Gutter
I think,
moment.
I think it was literal.
You think it was
Have you
literal?
have you seen the streets of Coruscant?
I
my
don't
friend?
think the Great Inquisitor was being literal when he said we pulled you out of the gutter.
I thought he was being kind of literal. You know,
You guys
maybe
are dumb.
maybe-
This guy-
Because
this guy-
where is she?
Yeah,
Best
where-
place to hide. Best place
Yeah.
to hide is in the crowds of the
Of
underground,
course.
or
yeah,
just
but
or
he's like
in the
calling her
sewer.
nothing. He's like, you were nothing.
Like in Rebels, that sewer. Like they got.
I think
they got.
I think
remember
it
that
works
episode?
both ways.
Was it
yeah,
Coruscant?
but the
Or
way
am
I
making
see
that
it,
up?
say like you gave a super poor person a bunch of money and they like betrayed you, and you're like, I pulled you out of the gutter. That's how I saw it. Something
I know,
like
but
that.
I feel like
But it doesn't work narratively,
either way.
obviously.
Either
so-
way,
I feel like it works both ways. I
Yeah,
always
I
took
think
it
it
as
works both
I always took it as both a metaphorical gutter and because she was a Jedi, you know,
Yeah.
that's the gutter to him. And also, she was
Well, I think you
probably
need to
on the
unplug
streets
your
of Coruscant.
computer. I think you need to go to a farm and just live in solitude for the rest of your life because I think you're wrong.
Galen Urso tried that. Didn't go over so well.
A man of
A man of
farming,
your
a
talents.
man of your talents.
Okay, here another quote. Another quote. We're getting through this one.
Keep up the quotes, man.
Beatty continued by describing how exploring the fallout of Order 66 helped to inform Reva's character. End quote.
Right.
And of course, there are so many great characters from the Purge, the Great Purge of the Temple, and everything.
It's true.
It was just like, okay, let's see what she was
them are
doing at the Purge. What if she saw everything that went down? What if Anakin Vader killed her, left her for dead, and sent her on this path? So all that kind of stuff just kind of made sense and allowed me to create a very confused, conflicted, blinded character filled with hate and rage and all the stuff that makes people want to be Sith and the Sith acolytes, and take her to a place of understanding truth of who Obi-Wan is, who Vader really is, and what her path is in the galaxy. So that quote matches, I think, that the essence of
For
that matches to the show.
Yeah.
And Reva has become I enjoy that arc. I like that personally.
I will say, unfortunately, it felt like all her development and really where I started to like her was in the last 2 episodes.
I can agree. Yeah, I think like who she is in the first whatever episodes does service that like that change, but it doesn't. We don't.
It
see
goes
enough.
nowhere, I feel.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway,
It's not like a
but-
slow build up necessarily.
yeah.
There's hints, there's subtleties, but it's like she's just kind of an annoying character in my
Yeah.
opinion
At
until
first.
those last couple episodes. Yeah.
Can I read the last quote from this Reva article?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I actually hadn't seen it, and it's pretty funny.
Okay.
So the first part is which understandable. We were always faced with the fact that Obi-Wan could never kill Darth Vader, so he needed to defeat someone. And so Reva was my attempt to give someone to defeat or someone to save, because he's not going to save Darth. The Darth Vader storyline is going to end in a downer, so I wanted to save
Right.
someone, and that's why I created Reva, which is interesting because in his version she would have died and not really been saved. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But I guess I do like the difference how it was Reva's choice to be good, whereas he couldn't be. You know what I mean? Like he can help
Yeah.
Reva become good, whereas he can't help Vader
help
because he
Vader,
doesn't want to be
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the quote that I laughed at. If I can just throw it in here before we get back into the discussion, he says, "This is I don't even want to spoil it from what the question is." He says, "So I hadn't played Fallen Order. I wrote this initially in 2017.
I
So
read
that was before I played the game, and then I played Fallen Order. It was before it came out, and then I played Fallen Order and was like, oh wow, this is Reva. No, look,
Oh wow,
it's
that's actually really.
it's
funny.
just
Yeah.
coincidence. I wanted to create a new character because I didn't want to be bound by any
Yeah,
canon.
that would have been actually very similar to Trilogy. Now that I think,
Yeah,
about it, his
with
version.
any of the others that have already been discussed, and I wanted the freedom to take her where I wanted to take her. So that's why I created her for the story. And that's the other thing
Kenobi has a
too.
lot of Fallen Order.
We're already
Well,
using too
I
many
don't think
characters.
Reva in her current state is similar.
Yeah.
Can
yeah.
I finish the quote so I can transition us?
Please.
So that's
It
why I
was
created her
finished.
for the story, and that's why there are other things too. We already used so many legacy characters: Obi, Darth, Owen, Beru. So I was looking to someone to create someone new. Here we go. I even had Cody in mind, so I was looking to create someone new. And we can talk about the Cody stuff in a second. But yeah, that's funny to me because it was 2017. It was before Fallen Order. It was 2 years before Fallen Order. So how would he know? Very
know.
funny to me.
But
he was like, "Oh, wait, this is
a lot of-
Trilla."
A lot of Fallen Order pulls just from
Sometimes
Kenobi-
it happens this way.
Kenobi brand. I guess. You okay there?
Well, my mic, I realized my mic was totally in the wrong place. Anyway,
Okay.
so I think that's funny though, that it's
Yeah.
like he knew it too.
Well,
as
that
soon as
was
he-
our that. I mean, if you recall, when we've been talking about this and what we've read from leaks prior to the show coming out, that was our main. That was one of my fears.
but
That
I
it was
just think
going to be
it's
a
funny that-
repeat arc.
that
Yeah.
they knew it. He knew it as soon as he played the game. That during
Yeah,
the writing process, like,
that
oh
he-
wait a second, this is Reva. But at that
Yeah,
point, it's
that
too
is
late.
true.
Like the story had been in motion for 3 years by the time Fallen Order came
Prior,
out.
yeah, to that. Well, technically, it seems like they probably were written around the same time. But
Well, he said they were writing in 2016, and in his 2017 draft, Reva was already the way she was, and Fallen Order didn't come out for another 2 years after that.
so
So
I know, but usually video games take a lot longer. So the story
the
is
writing?
probably
They're probably written at the same time.
That's
Yeah,
what,
I
that's
see,
what
I
I'm
see.
saying. Yeah,
I see the
the
Fallen Order
was
story. Yeah, probably right around-
conveniently written the same, probably around the same time.
maybe.
Interesting.
But yeah, he ends that quote with the little Cody tease, and this Cody article is where
Yeah.
we get the most deets
So
about
the
how the
last
story
the
would go.
last one, Obi-Wan
Cody.
Kenobi writer reveals
Cody.
Commander Cody's
Cody.
scrapped role.
So this is where I'm like, man,
This is where the pain sets
no
for
I see,
me.
I
For
think
the pain sets.
you think so.
Sets in.
Give me the lowdown because actually my first reaction was like I don't need Cody in
Yeah,
this.
that I
I never.
I
really
remember us
cared.
talking about Cody a long
No, it
time
was definitely
ago.
something that was like I was like could happen, but it wasn't something I necessarily need or need
Well,
still need.
I think
to.
what we thought was Cody would be one of the people hunting him, but
Right,
that's not what this.
and this it's
Yeah.
in this
This is
See,
very different.
that would
This
have
is
been
like
cool.
imagine all of the emotional scenes with Ewan McGregor, like 3/4 of them, but also Tem would be there, like
just
being like
so
like so. I mean, it's a lot to read, and we're already approaching an hour, so I wanted to do the spark notes of it. But
Yeah.
basically, Cody was going to be. Might as well read it. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Cody was the
quickly.
big one. I love the idea of Obi-Wan having a buddy on Tatooine, like a secret buddy. So like the first time he goes into town, you see Cody. He's following him through the streets and attacks him, takes him into an alley with a knife to his throat, and says, "You're dead." And then you realize, oh no, Cody's making a point. Like, come on, you got to be more careful. And you realize, oh, Cody is now more from someone who was trying to kill him when we last saw him to someone who's now devoting his life to protect him. Because
I
by
like that.
now he's had the biochip taken out of his head, and now he realizes, oh my god, what I did was wrong. And he was driven by guilt as much as Obi-Wan is driven by guilt. So you got these kind of two old warriors bickering like this old married couple, bitching
Yeah.
about God, it was so much better when we had an army at our backs, you know? And the idea of mine was that when Obi-Wan has to leave Tatooine, he left Cody in charge of Luke. And that gave us a fun little B story to keep cutting away to. And yeah, he's a fun character and a guy racing against the clock, obviously, because he's aging twice as fast. He's trying to atone for the
Right,
worst thing
which
he's
is
ever done in his
so
life.
cool. That's so cool.
It's
So
cool.
tragic. So
Yeah,
tragic
keep
in a
going.
way, but just fun. The way they bickered in my stuff, it was just, put a smile on your face and, just laughs, just arguing all the time. And there's
Sure.
more there, but
It's
I have a lot
interesting,
to say about that.
but I will take. I don't need Cody. I don't need Cody in the. I still don't really care about like their relationship that much. Like moving, it would be cool. I would prefer it to be Cody's hunting Obi-Wan. I prefer that to be the case. I
Sure.
don't know if I need to be cutting back to Commander Cody watching over Luke. I don't know
That's
if that's
kind
something
of sick though.
I no. I
Just
think
thinking
the
but,
about
story.
that,
I think the
though.
story of a clone like getting scared because he's dying at like rapid age is pretty interesting. I don't think it needs to be Commander Cody, and I don't think
Well,
it
I'll
needs
tell you
to
what.
be in the Kenobi series.
I'll tell you what. I think Rebels did the aging story already, and I
Yeah,
also
that's
think
true.
that
Sort of.
that when they were putting more touches
Not,
on this,
I think they could have done it differently. I don't agree that it's like
hold
it would
on.
be that similar.
When they were putting more touches on this, I'm thinking Dave Filoni on high said, "Nah, you can't use Cody
Yeah,
because of what's going to happen in Bad Batch season
Bad
2."
Batch.
but imagine Cody seeing the future of what he once fought for,
I know,
and
and
he
that
has
was
to protect it. That is pretty cool, actually. Now that when I put it like that,
Yeah,
no, but it's
I
Cody.
quite like it a lot.
No, I know,
Cody, it's
Cody's
such a
the
random.
one.
It's such a random ass like what the what? Like
I
in
mean,
2005.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
In
Clone Wars helps that,
2005, does it though? In
no, it really
2005,
doesn't. Not
people
that
walking out
much.
the theater and being like, "Oh, hey man, that guy like, in like one scene in Commander Cody, he watched over Luke Skywalker."
Okay,
Obi-Wan-
why are you
Obi-Wan
talking
would have
about?
slaughtered
I get why
Cody
you're
if
talking
he
about
found him.
2005, but there's
Because
so
that's
much more
because
context set after that.
But no, the normal viewer, the average viewer, doesn't know who the hell Commander Cody is, and
Okay.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to like they've seen the Star Wars films. Maybe they remember. Oh yeah, there's that Cody guy in that one scene. They're like, what is he doing? Like what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's
I
kind of
just feel
bizarre.
like
I don't-
Cody Obi-Wan would have slaughtered Cody after Order 66, like if he ran into him like during Order 66. So I just don't know if their relationship is something that I'm that interested in. Like even in Clone Wars, like yeah, he's his general, but it was very different. Anakin
It's-
and Rex was very different from
friends.
anyone else. Yeah.
It's very
Obi-Wan had
interesting.
respect for the clones, but I don't think like
I feel like
wasn't
they
the
tried to
same,
do the bickering funny storyline with Tika, and it did not land for me personally.
I like Tika.
Mm.
You don't like Tika?
Mm-mm.
There's also a storyline. It was a scene.
Well,
It's one scene.
But anyways, I do personally like that idea a lot.
See, so for me, remember this would have been like a 2-hour movie. Like you're gonna have a B plot. He literally says it. You're gonna have a B plot of cutting away to Cody and Luke. Like what?
yeah,
I don't think I need that, man. And also for me, undercuts Obi-Wan's solitude and the whole like purpose of like it'd be kind of weird.
Does Obi-Wan really trust Cody that much?
I know
Like,
it's sort of
especially like I know he has his chip removed, but I feel like Obi-Wan might have some reservations.
like the moment in episode 5 of Kenobi when you see the shot of it's from the same position that Obi-Wan was watching the homestead, but he's not there, and even though you're not seeing anything, Reva seeing the message and like the dread of oh my god, he's failed in this moment. He is not there.
Like,
but to have that
you're
removes
missing.
I think it removes.
Imagine Obi-Wan having to like bury Cody. That's like
I'm
so
not saying it's
cool
not.
to me.
I'm not saying it's not cool.
I would be
I'm
like,
just saying.
okay.
I
I
feel like
really don't think
I
I'd
wouldn't
have
be.
that. I
That's so
wouldn't have a very
sick.
strong emotional reaction to Obi-Wan bearing Cody.
I know, but that's just okay. But they would build up Cody
Yeah.
throughout
I
the
think. I
series.
personally
That's
think
what
that it would undercut Obi-Wan's arc if Cody was also
how
the one
how
the one we got in the show of him being like all the to me all the emotional stuff of connecting to the Force and Anakin and Qui-Gon is just
yeah.
totally pushed aside, and we'll get to the other quotes. If we have this weird B plot with
Yeah.
that him joking with Cody the whole time,
I
he
also
says
don't
it's a
think-
comedic thing. He says, and we'll get to the specific quotes about like the jokes he had written. Like he talks about like of like the dumping the bodies in the Sarlacc and stuff. Like I don't need
Yeah.
that. I don't want that. Like he literally says his last quote is, "Man, it was so they bickered in my stuff. It was just it was so funny, just arguing all the time." I don't like to
I don't
me if
think-
he's arguing with a clone the entire show.
Well, okay.
The way they did clones in the Kenobi show was they were villainous in the flashback, and you see
Yeah.
that beggar on the street, and that is enough to me. That is
Yeah.
you see Tem on the street, you see a clone on the street, you're like, damn, they got
Maybe,
discarded.
maybe
thrown away.
in my perfect one, I'd kind of want to mix of that because imagine that whole Reva scene on Tatooine, but Cody being there.
I
I
know,
don't
but
like
this
it
is the
that
guy.
much.
This is the
You
guy who
don't like
wrote
that?
I Frankenstein and G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra. Okay, think about the
Okay.
dialogue. Think about the jokey Cody dialogue. They're literally. Do you want me to?
And
I'll read another.
If
quote.
we-
I'm not saying I'd rather this version, but I'm
If we
more
want to get even
saying
deeper,
that-
I don't think I want to give Obi-Wan someone to relate to, especially not that early in the
That's
show.
what I'm saying. Yeah, don't
like-
give him a person, man.
Yeah, like he has to like not that I mean we'd still get all the sad beats
I
and
guess.
stuff, but it's just like I don't think Obi-Wan needs
Yeah.
a friend that he's like very like happy-go-lucky, giddy, joking around with in the show.
I think there's the potential.
I think if
For-
anything, we needed more of the other way. Not
And
that
more
we
likely
didn't
than
get
not,
it. We
more
got
likely
the
than
emotional
not,
stuff
the
is great,
emotional,
but like
the
we could have
emotional
had
arc
more.
that we're gonna get in Bad Batch season 2 for him will be much better.
Yeah.
Most likely because it's animation and over like 16 episodes.
Do we
Mike
want to
keeps falling.
move on
Yeah.
a little bit?
Okay.
Okay, so he goes on to talk about how when asked why Cody didn't make it to the final cut, because he says I don't know, they just decided I don't know, maybe Tim Morrison was busy on Boba Fett, it would have obviously been Tamora, maybe they decided they didn't need him either. I just felt Obi-Wan needed someone to talk to, someone who could tell him, you're in bad shape, because that was the other big idea in mind, was that because Obi-Wan was kind of forcing
Like his
his
life
will,
coach.
he was because he was
Mm.
kind of forcing his will upon this child to be the greatest Jedi ever and fix everything. He was disconnected completely from the Force. So the idea of Superman 2, right? You take away Superman's powers, and now he's a human, a mortal, and nobody knows he lost his powers except for him, and he's terrified. And so he can't sense when Cody's hunting him in the back alleys, and
Yeah,
he can't
but
force
Clark
push
didn't
anyone.
have a
Hold on,
a conscience like
Yeah,
that in
hold on,
that movie.
hold on,
so.
let me. And so he couldn't sense when Cody's hunting him in the back alleys, and he can't force push anyone. He can't mind read anyone. He's taken away all that stuff, and it's just a desperate guy. And it allowed you to have, that moment when he finally learns to surrender to the will of the Force. His powers come back, and you get that great Superman 2 moment where he's on his knees and starts crushing Zod's hand. So it's allowed us to have that big, fun, climactic moment. And it's still in the show. I mean, Obi-Wan, and it's kind of there, but not there with all his powers. But at the end, he is a god. And then,
Yeah.
and the idea... Yeah, here's the
Definitely
last
something
part.
I wish they focused in on more, because it's like, yeah, I do like the beat. It's like, oh, the first time he's using the Force again, it's to save Leia. I love that. But it's like, I love the end fight. I don't think it's necessarily super deserved. I don't think it's like, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's like, oh yeah, here's a man who went from being nothing and now he's like kicking Darth Vader.
Well, because I also don't think that the
The
approach of
Rocks.
cutting him off.
Yeah, that was
completely-
awesome. I just think we needed a little more.
I also don't think I
Yeah.
agree with the approach of cutting him off completely from the Force, like say
Same.
Luke in
Yeah,
The Last
yeah.
Jedi. I
Right.
think that's a totally different. They had similar experiences, but Luke made the decision so he couldn't be found. Obi-Wan,
Obi-Wan had hope still.
yeah,
somewhat,
Obi-Wan had
like,
hope. He always has to have some hope because he has faith
Yeah.
in the boy, and his like the way his Force fades from him is because he's not using it.
Using
Right.
it.
And he's so
it-
conflicted.
from
He's like,
hiding. It's not like I hate the Force.
Yeah.
Like I need to cut like a Darth Treya kind of thing from the Knights of the Old Republic, where the Force, for Luke in that moment, and for Treya is a Legends reference, but like the Force itself, the way that the Jedi and Sith used the Force was creating a cycle of violence from a certain point of view that he thought in a certain mindset, like I just need to remove myself from the whole cycle. That was not Obi-Wan's position. Obi-Wan was like, I gotta train the boy. Like there is,
Right.
and connect to Qui-Gon. Like there is still enough there for that character. For he can't go all the way to I can't even sense like Cody. Like that's I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Like he still has a senses. He
agree.
can still sense.
Maybe I just really wanted
But you think
maybe I
Obi-Wan
just really
needed
really
someone
wanted
to talk to?
Cody in the show, but maybe not in that role.
You think and quote he needs someone to tell him, you're in bad shape.
No,
I don't need
no.
Cody
Kenobi
coming to
doesn't need a
Tatooine.
coach. Yeah,
I know. I don't need Cody.
He was a
Especially
Jedi
not.
Master.
It seems like that would be an early in the show thing because Obi-Wan would be on Tatooine.
Movie. Remember,
Yeah,
movie. This is
movie.
so
I
you
do.
gotta-
I
yeah.
do really like the concept of them being on Tatooine together, but not in that dynamic.
Not like a jokey life coach way.
Yeah.
Where like you gotta
Yeah.
pick yourself up, man. Like
Right.
weird.
You pick yourself. You gotta pick yourself up, man. You pick yourself up, man.
Whatever.
I'm dying soon. You gotta pick yourself up, man.
But here, there's another thing is,
I don't want that.
and that was always the idea. By the end, he found his way back to the Force and surrendered to the will of it because that's how you connect to it. I believe you've got to make things happen in your life, but at the same time, you can't force your will upon the will of the universe. You've got to surrender to the will of the universe while still pursuing what you want to do. So it's a tricky balance. I just thought that was an interesting path to send Obi-Wan.
See, Cody would have been an example of telling and not showing.
It would have been major.
Which I
tell.
would not have.
Major.
I would have not have.
What if Cody was again one of the antagonists, I guess, hunting Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's the one that turns him, or is like, hey, like this ain't you. This ain't you.
Hey,
Like,
send you,
don't gotta do that.
Chief.
Like, hey, remember like what we fought for, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And
I mean,
Obi-Wan's
I
the
can
let me
read
change
more.
this. Maybe
I
I
can
like.
read more because there's more to say about
Why
what
don't you
There
read
is
has to
more,
say.
Levi? Why don't you read some more?
You can read more. There's
I,
more.
mean, John, I want to hear what John has to say though. I don't want it to be the podcast where I just read quotes.
Uh,
What's your idea?
I think it would have been cool. Yeah, going off the idea that like at a moment like Kenobi like is able to get Cody's chip out, and then he's like,
Yeah.
Sir, and then
Or what if it's a crosshair?
But they've done that.
It's
They've
like-
done that so many times. I don't
Yeah,
need
I
yeah.
know.
I would rather have a crosshair
Cody, though.
situation where he doesn't have the chip anymore, but he
Just
is
bad.
still like, yeah, and he's like.
But that's a
brother.
Oh, sorry, that's a crosshair moment.
I know, but they're
I
gonna
feel
do
it
that in
would be
Bad Batch season
different.
2. That's why it's good. That's why Bad
Yeah.
Batch season 2 in that
No,
trailer.
I
in that
I
trailer we
think
saw,
okay. To be fair, okay, yes, I think
Cody.
Cody's story being in Bad Batch 2 will
Cody.
be the best version of,
Like in that
of the
okay,
story.
brief celebration talk. In the trailer we saw at Celebration, it's him and Crosshair
No,
at the
teaming
at
up.
the,
I-
at,
yeah,
at,
yeah,
the, at
yeah.
the Geonosis Memorial at the Imperial Complex,
I
previously
know,
Republic
I know.
Prison, with all the names of the clones who died at Geonosis.
Yeah,
It's a badass thing in canon, and they're
That is
standing up at
badass.
it,
That is
and
cool.
Cody's
And
like,
they're looking at it.
and Cody's like, and Crosshair's like, we're fighting for this, and Cody's like, man, I don't know, like that to me is way more compelling than him being life coach on,
Yeah.
and like potentially if he
No,
dies
I
in
know,
that,
I know.
if
Okay,
Cody-
we don't like Cody life coach. Okay,
I know, if Cody
we don't
dies
like
in
Cody
Bad
life
Batch
coach.
to inspire to like make Rex lose hope in rebelling at that era and like push the clones
Yeah,
down. 'cause
okay,
we
yes,
have to see
okay.
that in
All right,
Rebels
all right,
because in
all right.
Rebels like we got crushed,
yeah.
right? And we got crushed.
All right.
That to me is way more emotionally resonant.
Yes,
than,
it is. It's better.
Then what I'm about to read here, the the fun one that I missed was the most actually a scene back on Tatooine with Cody. My Cody was so fun. Cody was with Owen, and there were some bounty hunters that had just discovered Obi-Wan, and they got to get rid of the bodies.
Yeah, that's what
and
I
so there
read.
was, and so there
I
was
kind
just
of
a
like
really
that.
there was a
but-
really fun scene where what do you
And,
do with bodies on Tatooine, and you need to get rid of them. Well, you go out to the local Sarlacc, right? They kind of park and they're having this discussion about Cody shooting Obi-Wan and all this kind of stuff. But as they're doing it, they're just tossing these bodies into the Sarlacc pit.
Seems like a Marvel scene.
And
no,
this-
it's Breaking Bad. It's a Breaking Bad.
Hold on. And the
moment.
Sarlacc's eating them, right? In the middle of doing this other speeder comes up and they get their guns ready, and these guys see them and they're like, everyone's like frozen. Are we gonna kill each other? But then the guys open their trunk and they've got stormtroopers that they want to throw in the Sarlacc, and so they start throwing. As a third thing, this massive speeder comes up and this massive door opens, and you expect this massive alien to come out and dump a body, but instead it's a very drunk Jawa comes tumbling out, opens the back door of the speeder. It's a massive dead alien in there. He's shoving the dead alien down there, and he's drunk, burping, and wasted. I called him Bad
It
Jawa.
seems like a robot chicken.
So
Okay,
that-
yeah, no.
that was always a really
no.
fun thing. That
I
just
read the
wish-
first part
so
of
I,
that.
so that I
sentence.
just wish we'd be able to
First paragraph.
do, because that's the fun side of Tatooine, right? Yeah, little moments like that, and there's more that becomes serious after that I want to
Did
talk
we
about.
just
But
have a completely unremorseful Kenobi who's
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Yeah, it would have been like
Yeah.
jokey
Yeah.
Kenobi, where
oh,
him
we
and
got
him-
these
Yeah,
dead
okay.
bodies.
yeah,
we gotta
him,
like,
him and Cody are joking about how he tried to kill him, like dumping
Yeah.
bodies in the Sarlacc. Like what?
like
to
is that
me-
the emotional moment we get with instead of talking about like how like, oh, remember when you tried to kill me as an emotional moment? It's like a
They're
funny joke.
dumping bodies.
Marvel
I
scene.
know.
That's Marvel. That's some Joss Whedon. That's some Joss Whedon writing.
I mean, this guy. Yeah, but the fact that
It's like Kenobi Breaking Bad.
But what
but
I think is
comedic, and I
interesting
don't-
though is the fact that the comment about stormtroopers being in the Sarlacc, because that was a question
Yeah.
in Book of Boba Fett as like a passing thing, and people brought up, oh, maybe we'll see that in Kenobi,
Yeah.
and we were gonna see them
That is
dumping
funny.
bodies in
Is
the
that an
Sarlacc.
intentional connection?
I think so. I totally think so. If these scripts are being written, years and years ago, and there was a draft with Cody in it up until recently, where like
Yeah.
there's a scene where there's stormtroopers in the Sarlacc, I think totally.
Right. But what would have been so if Obi-Wan had to bury Cody? Is that how he does it?
Dump him in the Sarlacc.
Yeah, 'cause I don't like
Roll his
it-
body in.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty pointless
I don't.
scene
And
in
remember,
the show.
I keep wanting to bring it back to this. This was a 2-hour, maybe 2.5-hour movie, though. So you would have
Yeah.
all this time dedicated to Cody and Obi-Wan on like a
Imagine
of-
in your 2.5-hour movie, you
Yeah.
want to explain
I
how
would have got.
bodies
I would have gotten old.
get dealt with. What? That's so weird.
What is? Yeah. No,
So
yeah.
that's, to me, it's like I like the idea of Cody, but
Yeah.
Whatever.
Cody's good on paper, but it doesn't
Cody
work.
could have been good.
however, we're dumping on we've been dumping on these ideas a little bit. I do want to, because what he says next, I could see how maybe it fits in the story with the marshals, the clone marshals. I don't know if we want to talk about that, but here, let me really read the quotes. This is more serious stuff about the story. There's a lot to say here. So basically, he's asked about the path, which is Tala in the show. That's how it ended up in the show, the path, and it's the Jedi.
Love the path.
He says, so like the show, in mine, Obi-Wan falls in with refugees that are fleeing from the Empire, and he's helping get the refugees out away from the Empire and luring Vader away and all that kind of stuff. So I had all that stuff in mind. And the one thing I love that I wish they kept in the show was the refugees had their own religion, right? And the goddess, they said, controlled all life, basically. And what you'd come to realize is, oh, this is the Force. It's just they don't call it the Force. They call it the goddess. And they take this lead refugee woman. Her name was Tala. She takes Obi-Wan to their sacred shrine and says, put your hands on here and close your eyes and concentrate and let the goddess talk to you, which is basically the Force. And so Obi-Wan does it, and when he opens his eyes, he's on Mustafar. And it's like, whoa, how did I get here? And he sees a guy in a dark robe with a red lightsaber, and he's like, Anakin. And as this guy in the robe comes up, he lifts his lightsaber, and you see it's Luke, Mark Hamill, 19. And so Luke attacks him. Obi-Wan and Luke had this lightsaber battle in mind, which was mirroring, of course, Empire Strikes Back. So it was kind of a thing that ends with, Luke almost killing Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan snapping out of the vision, basically. But it's a vision of the future. If Obi-Wan keeps training Luke and putting all his guilt on his kid, Luke's going to turn to the dark side. So it was one of these moments that makes Obi-Wan realize, I've got to let this go because this is the future I'm heading on right now. Luke is going to become a Sith and try to kill me on Mustafar at some point. So I love that. I love bringing in Luke. And this is way before they brought Luke back in The Mandalorian. We were going to be the first to do that, which would have been really fun and a nightmare. Yeah, that's probably the one I miss. So that's about Luke, which there's a lot of good there. I also think there's a lot of weird.
I think that sounds really cool.
That would get a reaction out of me.
At least the Luke, like vision.
The vision. I like the vision.
And that would also service why Obi-Wan and Yoda are so dogmatic in the the OT. It's like, also, I've seen the vision where this guy turns bad, and
that is also the writer explaining it, and not everyone would take the same thing away from it. And the fact that he says that Obi-Wan takes away that Luke is going to become a Sith and try to kill me on Mustafar at some point. It's a little bit literal for me. I don't know if I like that reading. That he's like, oh man, Luke's gonna kill me on Mustafar. No, right. I don't know if.
Well, I thought Obi-Wan might see it as a warning of the future.
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's meant to be. But I love the line about him putting his guilt into this kid. And I think that translates into the show at the end, man. When he's in the comic robes.
It's not direct, but it's
certainly not as direct as that.
No,
but that also ties into the fact that the path was different. It was a different thing, and they had the goddess. And
I do kind of like that idea.
I don't know. That's where it loses me a little bit, but I still think it's cool.
I like people not knowing that the Force is the Force, and
or just having a different interpretation.
Or interpretation of it. That's an interesting.
I think you can still have them be Jedi though in that.
Yeah,
I do like that idea a lot, actually. That's very interesting.
Because we do that in Rebels with Ashla and the Bogan with the Lasat, and we do that in Rebels a couple times, and we do it a lot in the novels. And
what, like different interpretations of the Force like that?
Yeah, I mean what do you mean?
The stuff with the Lasat is very.
It's Legends of the Lasat, man. It's all about how different religions interpret the Force. It's a whole
specifically
a long time. Maybe I'm just spacing out.
I mean, the woman Dylan, the preacher lady, like talks about all the different versions of
Right,
like
exactly. Yeah,
the
yeah.
Force, and
Right.
even then in Clone Wars you see like the witches of Dathomir, they have their own version of the Force and the way that the Force interacts with different people, and I don't know, that stuff to me is, I think people in watching Star Wars would immediately go, oh, this is the Force. Like, I don't, to me, that's not like a good reveal of
Right.
like, oh, it's actually the Force. It's like, well, I know it's the Force.
Yeah,
But
I'm with you.
and I like the way though that the path is Jedi though. I think like Quinlan Vos being involved and establishing now in canon like
Yeah.
Force sensitive children.
Yeah,
That
we
I
got
like.
we got a good path. We got a
Yeah,
good path.
I like the path. I like the path.
We like
Yeah.
the path.
It's a
That
cool
was a good-
canon thing. We could have got more from it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I
mind
agree.
though more visions. I don't disagree with Stuart Beatty vision.
Give me visions, man. More visions.
I think the vision's good.
That's a. I mean, I think that even that vision could even maybe
It could
work
still
in the
happen.
show.
It could
Yeah.
still happen, and
Yeah,
that's the,
definitely.
we're running long here, but I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, I
The
don't want to go too long, but I will say the with
conversation.
that vision's really good because it's I love Obi-Wan does make the decision at the end. It's like, hey, you just let Lucas do his own thing, but it doesn't feel like they thought about that as a central theme of his character. You know, like he never brings it up. It's never
At
something
least
he
in
like
this season, yeah.
specifically like comes to a realization to. It's just something he sort of says, which you can be like, oh, I gather that he's picked. You know, he just went on a long journey and he's come with this conclusion, but. I don't know. It
All right,
could
I
have
wanna-
used more.
If I may, I want to do the final batch of final quotes, and then I want
You
to talk
may.
about how, as to wrap up, how we think some of these ideas maybe could lead into a potential season 2. Now that we know.
Yeah.
So the last one is to do with Cody again and Reva, and again in the vein of the Grand Inquisitor not being in his version. So he asked that, and he says, he wasn't even in mine. No, it was really just Reva. She actually had a squad of stormtrooper marshals. So I thought, yeah, of course the stormtroopers have like the equivalent of the U.S. marshals, right? Except these guys were all clones. So she was using clones that, yes, were all Cody, basically. They were all Tim Morrison, speaking in his voice, and they were all veterans of the Clone Wars. They all knew Kenobi. They knew these Jedi that they were hunting, and they were still with the biochips in them. And they did not miss when they shot. They were absolutely ruthless. There were 10 of them. And they were all commanded by a guy named Commander Jet, which is, I think, it's such a deep cut. He's in one episode of Clone Wars. Very funny.
Wow.
And so they were he's Kiadi-Mundi's commander on Geonosis.
Wow.
And so they were her squad basically, and they all ended up dying over the course of the story. One of the funny issues I have with movies and shows in general these days is that no one dies. Nobody really died, It takes away from the jeopardy of the story. We're now in a world where no one really dies. Then, well, why do I care? So I believe in killing characters and having them stay killed. And of course, the Grand Inquisitor is someone you can kill. Is not someone you can kill. I just didn't even bring him in because I didn't want to have to. I don't want to have all that going on and have people come back. Which I thought was an interesting way to end it, because even in his version of the script, Reva gets quote unquote killed by Vader and then survives. But
Yeah, I feel like that's just happening more and more with just kind of Disney Star Wars. It's like people just don't stay
just don't
dead.
die. Yeah.
No, I gotta put full stop on that. It started with Maul, man. When George said bring Maul back, that was it.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't think don't stay dead. I just think we don't see too much death.
Well,
I disagree.
I guess you can say that, but that never happened. So, sorry, Clone Wars. I'm sorry. My mind went straight to George's
that never
sequel
happened.
scripts.
Yeah, no, I meant when
that's-
George
sorry.
in like
Yeah.
2010 was like, "Hey, make
Sorry.
Darth Maul alive again."
Sorry.
And Dave Filoni's
Yes.
like, "What?"
Yeah, but then it just started happening. I mean, you gotta think about
I don't know, man.
This
Dark Empire
show,
has always been a precedent
like
for
Grand
Palpatine coming
Inquisitor
back and
that
stuff
happened to
like
Grand
that.
Inquisitor that happened to Reva.
I don't know if that's the dark
Yeah.
side. To me, it thematically is fine.
Yeah,
I
Maul
don't
sets the
care.
precedent.
Maul sets
It's
the
like this is
precedent
a
that-
thing that can happen.
Yeah,
Maul was in a
Darksiders
much
can
worse
survive.
situation.
Yeah,
and he
got
lived,
cut
so-
in half. In
Yeah.
half. The man had no legs. His gut was open.
Reva also had a back to tank right next to her. So
Yeah, man.
Okay.
The whole
she could've
point.
called him that.
The whole point of the dark
I don't know.
side, whether you like it or not, it's not meant to be a good
It's
thing
just
that you
less
survive.
stuff.
Like these people. I know, but these people survive and they have awful lives. They have terrible existences. Like it's not good.
I mean, quite literally, it's Sisyphus. Like it's
Yeah,
like, they
Qui-Gon-
cheat death. They that's what Sisyphus does. He cheated
True.
death, and now he has to push.
Yeah,
this
Qui-Gon
boulder
died,
uphill.
and you know what he got? He found immortality. The dude descended into like literal godhood because he
Obi-Wan
accepted
literally let
death.
himself get killed.
Yeah, that's the
and
whole
he-
point. That's the whole
yeah.
difference of the
Exactly.
Vader, man. Vader on the beach. How did he survive? There's always he got all of his limbs chopped off and is burning alive in like 1,000,000-degree things, and he hangs out. How is he alive? He shouldn't be, but it's the dark side. That's what's keeping him alive. Like that's the whole That's always been a thing in Star Wars for
Okay,
me.
maybe
for
because it was
anger.
used twice in this show that I got
I do know what you mean. It's used by characters that aren't like
I don't know.
very like. I mean, the Grand Inquisitor is powerful, but he's not like a huge powerful Sith. Like he's not Darth Maul. He's not
Yeah,
Vader.
yeah.
And then
You know, he's
Reva,
definitely
who's
not
even
Maul.
lower on this on
Not
the
Maul
totem
either,
pole,
yeah.
like she can do it too. So it's
Right.
like, can I do it?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's- Who knows? If I was in the Star Wars, world,
I just don't know about the whole it's a Disney thing. I don't think that's a Disney
Mm.
thing. I think it's a Star Wars
we can
problem.
put that in the thumbnail though. That'll get a lot
Does
of
Disney
clicks.
Star Wars have a death problem?
They have a tentacle problem though.
Yeah.
Literally one time.
Shout
Too
out
many
Mike.
And
tentacles.
Shout
I
out.
watched Rogue One recently. I don't know. I don't get the hype over it. It's like not even that big of a deal.
Oh, Borgullet?
It's
Oh,
a.
got
I
it.
mean, it's an odd scene, I guess, but like, does it
That
ruin
didn't
the
need to be
movie?
done.
No.
I'm not.
No,
A,
it
I'm not. A,
didn't, but-
I'm not a fan.
What a
of
great
Borgullet.
movie! Shout out to Rogue One.
We'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, let's keep
Um,
going.
So yeah, I mean, with these ideas,
So overall,
BD,
I've gone from okay, this seems really cool to well, probably would have been as
but hold on,
would
there's a
have
lot
been
of
bad.
good ideas in there, and what he talks about in terms of the Luke vision, him coming to peace with, being able to die in A New Hope.
yeah.
That is stuff that we could see.
The character arcs are maybe are
That
pretty
is
good.
stuff that we could see in a potential season 2, and I want to talk about that. Like, Cody is not out of the picture.
No, I know.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna do Cody.
Well, Bad Batch is
Maybe I know, potentially.
yeah.
But Obi-Wan in season 2, if and when it happens, definitely staying on Tatooine. He's going to be going on a Force journey, and
Yes.
when you pull in these elements, like you can
can't do these Tatooine stories anymore.
It'll be
It
different.
drives me crazy.
I don't think it's gonna be. I mean, Book of Boba Fett. Part
gonna
of
be
it was
all
that it
Force
was
vision?
Tatooine. You know, like Tatooine is a character in Book of Boba Fett.
No, I
whether
know,
they do
I
it
know,
as
I know,
good
I know.
as they wish they did, or as I wish.
I just feel. I mean, I know I'm not the first one to say it. I know it's like everybody says this.
Well, I
but
also think we're gonna cut
come on.
away. I don't think Obi-Wan will be a main character, but
He'll
I
be
think
in
the
Visions,
path.
man.
I
He'll be
think
in
the
like
path is going to be an important part of the next.
Yeah,
season.
it's just interesting to me. I guess a show that's carried by visions.
Well, my thing is
Pretty good.
That's
I
the
don't know.
episode of Clone Wars,
See-
man. It's like Yoda goes into the Force.
No, you're right. You're right. I just did
Season
a whole
2
show about that. I don't know.
season 2
Or
of
season-
Kenobi. The only one that knows Kenobi is who's on Tatooine is Reva. So Reva could be a character in season 2. Maybe she joins the path. Maybe she comes to Obi-Wan and it's like, "Yo, can you give me some wisdom, or can you help me out?" And maybe he pulls a Yoda and he's like, "I'm not gonna leave, but like I'll help you out." Like stuff like that. Like I
Sure.
think it could work.
Yeah,
There's a
I mean,
lot.
honestly, when I first saw that scene of in the final episode of them together, I was like a little bit of like not master and apprentice vibes, but like something's there.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
connected.
The big thing
She needs more help.
not rumor on the street, but it was a rumor a long time ago. But potential that the villain of season 2 could be Asherad Het, the Tusken Jedi or Tusken Sith, who is in
That'd be
in
pretty
Legends,
wild.
who becomes Darth
Mhm.
Crate.
I do know about him. Don't know a lot about Legends, but I do know about him, and that would be pretty freaking sick.
Because
He's met Anakin.
yeah, in the EU continuity, they fought on Tatooine. So
Right.
like,
Woo!
and so it could be like potential like maybe I don't know.
That could be
What
fun.
I
Could be
do like
5-5
about these articles, like I do like the way they clearly put a lot of thought into like the thematic elements they wanted to hit, which I think carried into the show, but not as well as these movies I think would have handled them. A lot of the stuff, like I think I don't know, just hearing them talk about it, just it sounded a lot better than not a lot, but it sounded better than what we ended up getting. I feel like we got a diet version of a lot of these things. And
Really?
that could probably have to do that they shot it in 9 months.
You know what? This is what I've thought about Kenobi through the weeks and whatnot. I think the story is probably, or at least this season, is probably the best it could be. Like an Obi-Wan Kenobi script, like the script. If we read just the script, it's pretty good. The Kenobi script for the most part is pretty good. I do think a lot of the moments and just a lot of like a lot of how the story flowed was really affected by its production.
Well,
I
because they're
think
having
it
to
I think it lessened. I think it
like
yeah. I think it I think it lessened the blow on so many things. And
yeah.
I don't know. I hate to say it, but I just think this was a product, a
Are you
very
my real
rushed product.
father?
And unfortunately, the writing took so long, which in hindsight, I guess I'm glad that it did because it's such an important story. I feel like,
Yeah.
but because I mean, yeah, like we were saying in the beginning, like there's so many callbacks to like A New Hope and like how the stuff even like how the stuff from this show like impacts A New Hope even more and makes those moments even greater now.
Right.
I just feel like for me when I was watching it, I felt a lot. I didn't feel like how I thought I would feel because I honestly think it didn't look that good or just
There were
like
some
there was
moments that
just
should
I
have
don't
felt
know.
bigger. The spectacle should have felt bigger.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
did
know
not
exactly.
feel like Star Wars spectacle level that
which
I
is
was
what you would
wishing.
get in a movie. However,
Right.
I would make the argument that
That's
a
what
2-hour version would also you'd have a lot of thematic resonance cut out and
Yeah.
potentially have a lot of stuff like in this potential draft where like there's a solid 15 or 20 minutes with comedy Cody. Like I
Yeah,
don't
I don't-
Yeah.
that's like that's
No, I still
man, I don't
I
know.
still think this show might have. I can't say for certain. I still think the show that we got is probably maybe better than what this movie would have been.
I
But
think so.
I do think there's big things there that they talk about, and again, it's because they're talking about the nuances and all the stuff they wanted to hit. That I think could have been played out bigger in the show. If we got an article about the show that we got and they're talking in the nitty gritty, all the stuff, like the reasons they did things, maybe I would feel differently. You know?
Well, I'm always a sucker for what turns me around on shows is the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the Book of Boba Fett, and then seeing the behind the gallery made me like it even more.
Yeah, Book of
And
Boba Fett
then-
had that. The thought was there. The themes were
Yeah.
there. Like they were very
And for
intentional.
some people,
with
and
the
for
stuff
some people they
did.
don't
It
hit,
just
and for
didn't
some
work
people
for
they
me.
do.
Not
Yeah, it
perfect.
doesn't work for everyone, and I respect that. But even for I don't know if you guys have seen it,
Thanks.
like the 5 minutes of behind the scenes they've put out for Kenobi.
I
Like
haven't
seeing,
yet. No.
seeing
It's
the
cool.
seeing like the volume on Dayu, like seeing that
I
set, like it
don't-
looks it speaks to the fact that you're absolutely right. The production time, how long they had to work on it,
Right.
absolutely affected how it looked at the end. Because on like the behind the scenes, it looks amazing in my opinion. I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And then sometimes it doesn't translate because they didn't have all the time to finish special effects or something like that. That's a fact. I'm just throwing that out there because that's a very real
No, it
thing.
is. I mean, it's just
I personally just though the themes that resonate through Kenobi hit more than what seems like it would have been in this movie. Potentially, if it was a trilogy,
fair.
we would have to wait years between movies, and
That is true. That is true.
Every-
that is true, that is true.
everything may not have hit the way that it's talking about. Because
Yeah,
oftentimes-
exactly. That's why I think the show was probably better than what we got, or probably better than
Yeah,
what we
better,
would have had. Yeah.
and as I think more about the show, like I said, as it's me though. You got to remember this is this is me. I have a hard time. I really got to try and not like something.
Yes.
Unless it's Jurassic World, in which case it's dog, complete dog.
You
and
already
I-
don't like it going.
this
I
man
already know,
loves
like-
Venom. Both.
I don't
Venom
love
movies.
Venom. I just think
Venom was
like,
better than Jurassic World. At least the newest one.
Both Venom movies are way better than Jurassic World, and you will not get me to. I will die on that hill.
I liked
Jurassic-
the first movie.
The last two Jurassic World movies are complete
The second
doo-doo.
one, I haven't seen the third, so that's fair.
doo-doo cheeks, man. Bad.
Anyways, this isn't a Jurassic World stream or
Anyway,
podcast.
Yeah,
I
don't
just
know.
like I like Star Wars, so you're gonna be hard pressed to find me crapping on.
Well,
Same
no, I
Star
do
Wars.
too. I just
Because even when the
course
production's
we do
bad,
too,
I think about the world and what this does for these characters.
I know. I'm
like,
just making
yeah.
it known that like with my own biases, like we talk about all these alternatives all the time, like Duel of the Fates and the show. And if either of those had come out, I'd probably be defending those too. Like I gotta be honest with myself.
You like lightsabers.
I'd
and-
probably be
and
defending
the
them, you know?
Force. You like
Like,
the
if we
Well,
were-
no, I don't. I think you hit it right on the money there when you said spectacle, because I think
Yeah.
this show,
Oh, it did have some spectacle though. It had some. It did
Some.
pretty good.
Yeah, but it's
but in
still
some
like
moments
wi-
where
yeah,
it
but
should
your
have been a
screen
spectacle,
looks
it
like
was
it's
not.
grainy and it's gray and it's dark and the
that's true.
camera.
I couldn't. I
I'm not gonna
couldn't do
defend
it.
the directing of photography. It's
yeah.
awful at some points. Dog.
I think honestly, just that really got to me as the show went on.
And when
don't know.
that kind of stuff did work, when Obi-Wan and Vader are talking to each other after their fight, I think the shaky cam there was a good idea, and I think the way it was lit, it was very like
That's
it wasn't trying to be subtle. It was
that
very
scene
like
alone. The
Yeah,
way
I wasn't
the way
trying to
that-
be subtle, which I wish.
the
and I
way
didn't
that
think it needed
Anakin-
to be.
the way that the way that Anakin's eye comes through and you see the tear.
Yeah,
oh my,
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my, oh
like
my
Star Wars isn't
God.
a subtle story. It's good versus evil. I mean, there's gray, but at the end of the day, like
It is
it's
good
about
versus evil, yeah.
the
It's
good
a story.
side versus the dark side, and it's like here's our two characters. Here's the good. Here's the bad.
No, and yeah, and I brought this up. I love how when Anakin was before Anakin said, or Darth Vader said, "I killed Anakin, not you."
Yeah,
Essentially, it went from blue to
yeah.
red on his
And he's
face.
smiling a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh God, it was so good. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that flashback, that Clone Wars flashback, amazing. Clone Wars
Right.
era flashback. Like,
Yeah,
before
yeah,
it's
that was great.
So good.
And even like the
Still-
voice
still
modulating.
wanting- Still wanting the Clone Wars armor, but yes.
We'll get there eventually.
Ain't gonna
But
happen.
ain't gonna happen. Maybe Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka.
I
I
hope.
think Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I think so.
Ahsoka seems to be the
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm just saying. I think I have mixed feelings, but I think a lot of these cool ideas could be used in a season 2. I think because they set it up right. I mean, I feel like Qui-Gon saying we got a long ways to go. Another Qui-Gon setup.
That's an example of things that I think didn't hit as hard for me personally as I would have.
Oh, that hit for me.
It did.
I think it hits.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes in the show. Yeah, oh, dude, seeing Ewan and Liam Neeson together again, like upon subsequent rewatches, the way I love his outfit. I love Obi-Wan's new outfit. The
oh yeah, I love it too.
So good. Seeing him on the OP, like that looks like a movie to me. You know, the OP effect looks good. That looks like a real creature, and he sees like, oh my god.
You know what would have been cooler? If we saw Obi-Wan get to his a new house, a new house. A new hope house. A new house.
Oh, now it's Spider-Man.
And he sees someone out the window.
New crib.
And it's Qui-Gon out the window.
He sees someone out the window, like Santa Claus. Like...
No. So no, but he goes out. No. He goes out and he's like, Master Qui-Gon.
Nah.
That would have been a little cooler.
Nah.
No, you don't think so? If he saw someone.
No, I think the way it played is
at the Obi-Wan hut, seeing Qui-Gon there.
I feel like it could have been cool if maybe like we saw
instead
Obi-Wan...
of them just in front of like the middle of Tatooine. It's like okay.
Maybe after after a long day, you know, Obi-Wan has completed his adventure. Luke's safe, everyone's safe. He sits down to meditate one more time, and he hears Qui-Gon's voice, and he opens his eyes, and there's Qui-Gon. I feel like that could have been even better.
Dylan's with me,
but I still like the scene we got.
I like it. I just think,
yeah.
Again, I don't think it hit as hard as I thought, or as I would have liked.
Think, man, in the movie we wouldn't have had Freck, and that's what.
Oh, that's so true. All right, scrap this whole thing.
Scrap this whole thing.
We got Freck.
We got Freck.
Anyways, okay.
Closing remarks.
Nothing wrong with Little Order.
Or is Freck our closing remark?
Could be.
I hope not.
Could be a Freck close.
Freck close today.
Freck bot.
I hope not.
Freck, give us Freck a Star Wars.
I need to forget about Freck. You guys, he's a fascist. You guys like this?
I just think it's interesting.
He just likes Little Order.
That this whole conversation, just the amount of ideas that get thrown around at Lucasfilm so far in advance of the stuff we see, like it is such a. The fact that it's official, confirmed.
Yeah, think about Marvel too.
Yeah, it also goes to show it's like I don't like when people are like, oh, they're putting people on Star Wars that don't even like care about it. It's like no, they're very intentional with what they're doing.
I want people who don't love Star Wars as much as
like, go right.
We'll be working on Star Wars.
We'll start talking about Andor. We'll start talking about Andor.
I can't start talking about Andor.
No, I can't because that's exactly what Andor's doing.
To that point, though, Dylan. To that point, it was to the extent that in an official draft of the Kenobi film and show, Commander Cody was Obi-Wan's life coach on Tatooine, and they were dumping bodies. Like they know like. Of all the variations of stories, like there are people there who quote unquote know.
That's almost what happens when like you get someone like me working on writing the show. It's like, show. Imagine if Cody and like Obi-Wan, like I do want getting carried away Cody... with the fan service stuff.
Yeah, maybe it's just fan service. I don't know. I really want to see Cody nowadays, like what he's doing nowadays. But we'll get that in Bad Batch. But again, in live action would have been cool too. But maybe we'll see that. Who knows?
It's like when two characters meet in Star Wars after a long time, and fans want to hear them recount every situation they've had with each other, just because it's like it's cool, fan service. Like, but it's like that's not how real people talk.
It's like Luke and
Ahsoka real people do,
and Mando.
Yeah, and I think we'll get that.
And that was one of the coolest things about at Celebration was Dave saying, "I know the story. I have it written.
I know what happens. Yeah,
I know. I'm just not saying it. Yeah, I'm just not. Why would I tell it now? It's like that's so cool to me that."
Got a
Mighty Bean ending.
You found a Mighty Bean. Oh, I still haven't looked for mine. Anyways, all right. Well,
overall, I think this discussion though made me reaffirmed in my opinion that I think the Kenobi movie or Kenobi show was good.
Better product
in terms of the story.
Writing. Yeah, better product, and that there are a lot of still good ideas to be mined for a potential season 2 because it was a trilogy. We still don't know what the third one in the trilogy was about. Right.
We know 1 and 2. 1 being I gotta remove myself from the boy, reconnect with the Force.
What could the third movie be about?
I don't know.
What are we missing?
Vader and Obi-Wan meet one more time.
Another time?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what
I hope not.
their confrontation looked
Maul?
like in this. Maul's
Maybe.
dead.
No, I'm saying, but in this draft. Oh well, I guess
Yeah.
Rebels was already out.
Not,
Well,
not,
still,
not,
but
not
still,
in
they could do a.
2016.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I don't know,
Well,
but I think overall, I think this.
No,
this,
the third movie, you just Ewan McGregor looking straight into the camera, slowly fading into Alec Guinness. That's the third movie. That's it. For
the
2.5
whole thing.
hours, he slowly fades into Alec Guinness. That's it.
I think though that it does make me more excited for a
Nobody
potential
likes that.
second. I thought it
It's
was funny.
funny.
I feel like we've been going for a while.
We have been going for a while. I thought that was good.
I think it's
I thought I
good.
was on a roll there.
Can
Whew.
you imagine that?
all right. What do you think?
I just think
I'm
it's
thinking-
excited. I think it's exciting that I can see now where a potential season 2 could go in terms
Yeah.
of story. After reading this, that there's this many.
They can
ideas
definitely
out
take stuff from this for sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
there's
hope
a
so.
I mean, there's a lot to take from. There's a bunch of different drafts of this
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
entire concept of an Obi-Wan project. So,
right.
anyways, so thank you everybody for checking out this podcast. This is episode, I don't know, what, 50
Oof,
something.
50. It's in the 50s.
We're getting
Okay.
old.
We're getting old.
We're getting old.
We gotta buy a sports car or something.
Yeah,
here.
apologize for the week break. We had we just did a lot of Kenobi content. We some of us needed a break, so but we're back. So don't worry. But yeah, so thank you if you're new
Give
and
us your
made it this far.
money.
Thank
Give
you.
us your likes and your subscription.
Not like that, but
Nope.
something like that.
Some.
If you want to subscribe, you certainly can.
Leave a comment.
And
What did which version of Kenobi would
Do
you?
you, yeah, I
prefer?
mean, yeah. Do you
That's
like
important to
the?
say
Stuart
stuff like
Beatty
that.
one, or
Yeah.
the one we got? Let's talk about that. It's
That's
the
great.
topic of the
All right.
podcast.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Great job, guys.
Thank you, everybody.